Welcome everyone, boys.
Good day.
It's the first installment of the Call of Duty cast with GigaHub team. We have myself, Kohvz, Ollie Levcitys, the brother duo over here, and then finally, we are one short, but he is the main man himself, Rahil Raz. Obviously, we are missing Dylan. We're only 3 now. He might pop in later.
Yeah,
you know, Dylan.
Dylan just had something important to tend to, so for now we'll carry it, and then hopefully he joins us in a bit.
You know, Dylan Lithium. He's a proud position of South African COD. He's a very busy man, so hopefully he will join us not too long from now. But welcome everyone. This is the first time we get to speak with us, the Call of Duty team, the well-beloved and hated Call of Duty team. You know, we are the villains, we are the heroes. But it's good to be here. Boys, Rez, how was your travels up to Joburg?
It was good. Can't really complain. Plane wasn't that full, luckily. So, yeah, we got here. Not much to do. We've done recently.
Just been chilling.
Yeah, we've just been chilling, vibing.
I was going to touch on, obviously, we can't say what, but we had a fun day on Friday.
Definitely did.
And then I was thinking, you must be hella bored on Saturday, bro.
I actually went out a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where did you head to?
Went to the mall. I was actually with some friends.
Oh, okay. Robin,
Nice.
I thought you were maybe just chilling by yourself the
And
whole
then I
day.
got back home for the soccer.
Well, you actually had a more fun day than we did. I mean,
More eventful.
we had to play some Phasmophobia. That was fun. We must play together actually.
Mhm.
Obviously, we were supposed to, but you don't have your PC up,
Yeah,
so that
unfortunately.
didn't help. But anyway, I'm glad you had a fantastic day. So we just want to chat up on. Started off with Real. Obviously, it's been a long year. Obviously, we didn't team for was it like
Months.
half the year?
Yeah, probably.
I'd say half the season.
Maybe more.
So, probably. I mean, could you even count the first 2 months of Call of Duty
No.
South Africa? I mean, nothing really happens in the beginning there, but I just want to touch on quickly about what happened with your year. Obviously, Ollie and I headed over to Macedonia to compete in EU, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But I want to hear from you. Obviously, Dylan's not here to give his point of view of how he experienced it, but touch on a little bit of how the year started when we were
Yeah.
still as a team, and then head over to when there was that team replacement where you guys got Jameen and Loyal, and then just how the season went on from there.
Okay, so obviously us four as a core at the beginning, we were quite unstoppable. Not many competition, as we would like to say, but then obviously when you guys had to go, we picked up Jameen and Justin, Loyal. And for the first couple of weeks, it was a little bit rough, obviously because we're not used to like the chem and stuff like that. But
2 new players, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And but like as time progressed, we had a couple of role changes actually. I've tried sub for like a couple of weeks. Not many people enjoyed it. And but then at the end, luckily before like any of the major tournaments, we started clicking a lot more. Justin felt like a lot more comfortable. Jameen obviously he was super good at the game, obviously. So yeah, there were a lot more closer matches than obviously us as a core, but it was a pretty like solid season overall. Not as like obviously we had we lost like couple series, but nothing. I think we still ended up winning all the
Yeah, you
tournaments.
still won. You
Yeah,
lost
we
in like a winner final or
yeah,
something
exactly.
like that.
We came back from the losers bracket. We still won the whole tournament, but a little bit more stressful, but still a pretty solid season.
When I'm
from
gonna be
us.
honest with you, when I headed over to EU, I didn't keep up much with our team. You guys in South Africa, obviously putting in 12-hour shifts a day. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad. I'm disappointed you lost series, but I'm glad to hear that you won all the tournaments, which is really good. But I wanted to touch on that as well. I noticed that it was a bit, I wouldn't say rough because, like you said, you were winning everything still. But with the role changes in the team, I saw Justin on main AR.
Yeah.
I saw Jameen going to sub. I saw you going to sub.
Mhm.
And I just want to say it started off with Loyal on AR. Am I right?
Yes, it
And
did.
then
And
Jameen
me
on,
and AR.
yeah, and then Jameen and
On
Dylan
sub.
on sub.
Yeah.
And then I even said to Ollie, I was like, what are they doing? Justin is like one of the most aggressive sub plays. You want him as your entry, you want him flying in, and he's sitting back map with your AR.
Yeah, so it all started we played I think it was a scrim against AKA or something, right? And we ended up losing I think all the maps in the scrim, literally all of them. I don't think we won a map, and we're like, okay, no, something's gotta change here, right? So we went into the theater mode. We were you're watching Justin, watching Jameen, see how they play, and then that's when we realized, okay, Justin is playing way too aggressive for an AR or something. So, and Jameen obviously played AR before he joined us, so we were like, okay, let's give this a try. It did get a lot better, not too perfect. Then obviously we tried me on sub, Justin and Jameen on AR. Worked out for a couple of weeks. It was And then yeah, and then at the end we got the final result, Justin on sub with Dole, and then me and Jameen and ARs, and it worked out perfectly.
So the biggest thing I took away from that is South African teams actually did vote review.
Yeah.
That must be a first. Never seen that before.
I mean, I kept pretty up to date with the local scene. I watched all you guys' tournament games. And I was actually the one. I was like, they have Justin on AR, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Rob's like, what?
I was getting scared. I was like, I think Dole told us that you were losing scrims or something
Oh,
to
it was
like
horrible.
to like not non-T3 teams, and then he was telling me like Raz is getting upset. I was like, you can't upset my boy Raz. Just fix that shit.
Obviously, because like, even like in last year, like we were undefeated, like, so it's like I'm not used to losing again, like obviously, so it was a little bit different. Obviously, we got frustrated a little bit, but we pulled together as a team, and yeah, I mean, we all had to pick up our stuff. Like,
I mean, when Rob and I were here, to the let's say from when we left to the end of the season, there were way new players that were like competing at the top. Like Dylan was telling me some names that like, oh, like they're gonna be playing in the final. I'm like, I really like.
yeah, like
It changed like the couple of months we weren't there. It actually changed with players and teams and like, you know, like top 3 teams or maybe not exactly the dominant top 3 teams. Some teams were causing upsets, so it was interesting to watch from an outside perspective.
Yeah, we had a lot of new players that actually made a come up this season.
Yeah.
Miliotis went to a final with us. He beat us in a series actually in AK, but luckily we still won the tournament. Who was it? Bez made a little bit of a come up to the season.
I see some guys like Mage.
Mage is the name that has been floating around a lot for me.
Mage
while I was
rocked my
overseas.
shit, bro. I'm not even joking. That guy at league play and also in tournaments. Oh my god.
He's the one name that stood out for me when obviously we always seen him in league play and we've played against him a few times. You've noticed he has the potential to be a good player, and as soon as we left, I saw his name just climbing. So I'm kind of glad to be back a little bit. Need to put him in his place, but no, good looks to you, Mage, if you are here. It's good to see a lot of younger talents or people who weren't provisional back in the day starting to make comeback. We saw that a lot. Ollie and I were actually speaking about it the other day. You were probably, in my opinion, the last player who came from nowhere and literally became one of the best, if not the best, in South Africa.
2017.
In one season, Raz, I'm actually gonna tell a story now. In Infinite Warfare, I didn't really play the season much, but I was playing a lot of pubs. And I actually found Raz in a pub, and I sent him a DM, like, if you're ever interested in competitive, like, send me a message, we can team. And then, like, a month later, you join 50-50, and then right after that, Raz joins Bravado. So, I mean, I'm a scout, you know, I know talent when I see it, but...
That's true. I think was the first to notice my talent.
Yeah, exactly. But I think
you were the first to ignore his
I didn't expect to go into competitive that season, like obviously, like so, like. But then once I was like playing like 8s, like cap 8 or something, and then someone came into the party chat and asked me to join the team. I'm like, oh crap, how do I tell him no? We had a weird it was like a weird conversation. I ended up saying yes, and then I think it was like me, Zenko, Mo, DB, and like Sanity X Psycho as a team. We ended up playing for a couple months or something. Then obviously I joined 50-50, and I went to my first LAN, obviously EG. And a lot of pressure was on me because
who was your team for that LAN?
Kaden, Scorpio, Kaiser, the Beezer, Bub, and me.
Where did you guys place at EG?
Top 8.
With 8 teams that did.
We ain't talking about that one.
It was 16 teams at EG. I'm pretty sure EG was always. So I mean,
that's not bad.
Top 8 for your first LAN. It's not the worst, but I mean, you do have some prominent names on that team, so maybe expecting a little bit more going into that.
Was VS at the end of the year the disappointing tournament?
VS was we came out second. I was in Bravado that.
Oh wait, yeah, you joined. Yeah, you were playing a cross rob. I remember that. Guys were screaming at each other.
Who won that LAN?
You did.
So you said EGE IW.
Yeah.
Is that where you placed 8th? EGE IW. I know I won everything that year because...
You're good.
Nah, I pointed that out because Ollie and I keep having conversations about it. Which is your best year you think you've had in South Africa in like skill-wise overall? And I always say IW because I don't know if you remember when the operator was still there, that skinny bot. Do you remember when it wasn't G8 when you could have the AW movement with it?
Yeah.
When you used to dash left right? And then do you remember when that was paired with the OSA? Do you remember how OP the OSA used to be?
That was so annoying, bro.
When I tell you no one touched me in that game. That was my best. And Ollie always asked me, what do you think is your best game when it comes to your whole career? And I say IW, Black Ops 3, I wasn't the greatest at, I'll be honest. I was the heel bitch. I was literally objective.
Completely different role.
Yeah. So I always say IW, World War 2, and then I would say Modern Warfare if it wasn't online based, because I always used to watch Shotzi. Like, that's where I got into watching Shotzi. He was my idol. I used to try mimic every single movement he did. I got pretty good at it, but you can't be Shotzi though. You can't be Shotzi.
He's starting around the map.
I personally think Rob's best season was Black Ops 4. That's why I think Rob's, because like I played against Rob a lot in Black Ops 4. We went to London together. Like definitely the hardest kill. For Raz in my opinion.
See, that's different. For me, Black Ops 4, Raz was the hardest kill.
For me, Raz's best game where he was like one man was World War 2. Like,
World War 2.
World War 2 was, you could like the way you would hold your lanes and like just control the map one man. Like you couldn't do anything. Like you hold your power positions because you played AR in that game, and you hold your power position.
That's the thing. What I noticed with you nowadays, I don't play against you a lot, but playing against you is the gun skill and everything that comes with that is so difficult to you. You'll always be, until someone you comes along, my hardest kill from now. It used to be Inferno back in the day when you weren't around, but now it will be you. But playing against you in that World War II season was so difficult because the way you used to position yourself, I don't think I got into a gunfight with you when you're not on a heady. Like it is literally, what is it, Gibraltar, where it's literally known in the middle of the map as your heady. You couldn't get you off of it.
Just 3 pieces.
The thing is, it was difficult then. I couldn't imagine for my subs because then I was the second AR.
Yeah.
And I was pretty good at the role, but I couldn't imagine playing a sub against you and having to actually run through those lanes.
Not fun.
Not fun, exactly that. But then, what would you say you still new, you still baby.
Yeah, still, but maybe Black Ops 4. That's like where I had my, come up.
Yeah, the gun that never recoil.
It was the role that was difficult, not the gun. But Black Ops 4, I was tossed around a lot in Black Ops 4 with team by team. Like I went through at least like 5-6 different rosters. But the end of the year team, where it was myself, Thiu, Lau, Schemes, and Loyal. I mean, we should have been playing you guys in the finals. We kind of threw against WG that season, but like even that tournament, that VS for me was like a really, really good tournament. I finished with like a 1.3, 1.4, something like that. And it should have been a grand final first appearance, because 2 of our players first land, so we were kind of the underdogs for that tournament. But like, I don't know, I think I've been pretty consistent over the years in Cold War and Modern Warfare, but like, I think just because it was LAN and you can prove yourself on LAN, where Black Ops 4 was like kind of my better season.
Yeah, Rahil and I don't speak about VS Black Ops 4.
What tournament was that?
We didn't go there. We were upstairs at the Bravado Hub. We were just chilling there.
We were chilling.
Yeah, we didn't enter that. That was not fun, eh? So
now,
I just want to touch on that tournament. It seemed like it was going so well for us, Raz. I'm sure if Dylan was here, he'd also say. I'm pretty sure it was. Did we play Energy?
We played Energy and WG.
And WG. I'm pretty sure we 3-0'd them in the quickest fashion possible.
It was
70 clubs.
3-1 against Energy and 3-0 against
the Energy is the one it took. WG series, that was the quick one. And that's, I was honestly expecting the opposite, because WG, they had Hypes, they had Huzaife.
Yeah.
And those are some 2 good players, especially in Black Ops 4. Hypes with that Sorg, he's obviously known for how good he used to be with that double stock Sorg. So when we 3-0'd them to go home, we headed to the hotel, we're like,
this is ours. This is
head back Sunday, watch everyone play. Like, honestly, I was sitting there with my mom and I was chilling like, yo, we're gonna head to lunch after this. It's gonna be quick. Then head to that booth. I mean, it wasn't like it was a blowout. Did we get double reverse?
Yeah, double. We lost the 1-3-1 in the first
3-1 and then 3-2.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to make the reverse sweep on the second best of 5?
No,
it went 2-1, 2-2.
2-1, 2-2, and then 3-2. Yeah.
That was not fun. Like, I understand there's some good players, but we had all the momentum going into that Sunday.
We just didn't show up on Sunday. Like me especially, I didn't play that well. Inferno didn't have a good series as well. You had a good series.
I always tell Ollie, I didn't lose that series. I didn't lose VS because I had a good Sunday. I think Dylan also had a pretty good Sunday. I'm pretty sure you didn't have a bad. Just obviously up to your expectations. Me and you were the stars of the team. Me and you always used to pop off on the game, double Maddox. Even when we used to run ICR together, we used to be really good. But obviously, lacking here and there. Obviously, Elton didn't have that great of a series as well. And it's not his fault, but the fact is, we played together. We played very well as a team. We based every single play off of each other's team, and that's actually what I want to touch on after this, is why we played together so well as a team. It's obviously because we came back from London. We had that international experience. So when we come up against South Africans who have an extremely aggressive playstyle. What I've noticed heading overseas, it's difficult to regain when you can't get in the groove, when you base your plays off or your teamwork off certain individuals, and when it just doesn't work together, then it crumbles and collapses. But it was a fun land, though. I actually really enjoyed it.
It was a cool land, yeah.
Having lands at Maverick with the big screen behind, and then obviously the booths. The booths always, South Africans take it like that's like the craziest lands ever. Obviously, it's still far back mentality, because obviously pros don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
But just being able to experience that, I remember in Black Ops 3 we headed to a minor land, and the land was played at this venue next to like a spa, and then just for the grand finals they took us like across Johannesburg, no, it was across Pretoria, just to have a small venue that had 2 booths, just so the 2 final teams could play on it. So that was fun. I enjoyed playing at VS. What did you want to touch on before?
And I was saying now that we're speaking about Black Ops 4, like maybe we can talk about the experiences we got in Black Ops 4, which was London.
That's what I wanted to hit on next. I want Raz to start off with it, because you were still new to COD, like new-ish to COD coming to that. Obviously, I've been playing competitive since 2012, watching it since maybe 2013, 14. When did you start watching competitive and then
Black Ops
noticing
3.
you were going to head into what you were watching and watching everyone play?
Black Ops 3, I used to watch up. That is my first, obviously I watched from pros, and big up Optic Supports at that back then, obviously.
Still an Optic Supporter?
Still is,
Thank
still
you,
are,
that's
thank
my
you,
boy.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, I wish I could be like them, and then obviously I got my PlayStation 4, and then we headed into Infinite Warfare, and then obviously I just played pubs. God knows it's Bali. And then played a ton of Cap 8s, and that's when I got picked up by 50-50, and then all started off there.
And then obviously headed to Bravado, and then I remember it was end of World War II at VS. My energy team forgot to sign up for VS. We didn't play our games. So we ended up not qualifying for VS, even though at that time it was just after AfriHost in Cape Town. That's when we beat you guys.
Yes.
No, AfriHost.
Oh,
we
Esports.
Yes, Esports, sorry. And that's when we beat you guys, so that was just before VS. We were feeling confident. I felt like we were the best team at that time. Obviously, you guys had a really good World War II season, because you guys used to play a lot of international tournaments.
Yeah.
Game battles. You guys played, ultimately you told me you guys played against Scraps and Waskin.
Yeah.
Did really well against those. So I was a little bit envious of you guys. That's where it started. I was like, I can see the international journey going from there. So when VS came, obviously we placed 4th. We didn't have the best, but then again I played with Ollie. not putting anything down Ollie, but it was a pickup team. Myself and Frosty obviously were the only 2 that played from our original team.
Yeah.
Made some pickup teams, obviously came 4th. That's also one thing I want to touch on. 4th place, we got 2,000 Rand each.
That was insane. Yeah.
That you guys got plus 13k, because you got, I think it was 11k, and you got added stuff like Astros and stuff like that, wasn't it?
I think it was we definitely got a lot. I don't know if you got Astros and stuff.
Oh, what was it? Do you remember?
I can't.
Because I remember, I think the actual total of the prize pool was 11k, and then you guys got added on stuff. I think products.
Wait, was this for VS and World War II?
Yeah, when it was downstairs in Comic Con.
It wasn't 11k. 11k for first place.
Yes, wasn't 11k each?
No, that's a lot more, I think.
It was more.
I think we ended up getting 6 or 7k each. Yeah.
That must be nice. But yeah, so then I remember watching it. When last have we had a tournament where 4th place gets 2k each?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, to be fair, it is credited to not having lands.
Yeah,
obviously, COVID messed up a lot of plans for a lot of people. Not the greatest time to be a esports player in general, but especially a Call of Duty player in South Africa. But hopefully, heading into the new season, hopefully everyone's getting their vaccines. Lands are going to come back, obviously, if it shows that there's enough people, there's enough vaccines going around. Obviously, the teams will need to be vaccinated, just like in the pro scene. But I'm going to be excited if lands come back. Obviously, there should be some at Maverick. I enjoy playing at Maverick. Even minor lands. I don't know how many minor lands you've been to.
2 or 3.
2. Obviously, you're from Durban. There's not many Durban minor lands.
Sucks.
But Ollie and I being in Joburg, I'm pretty sure we attended every single minor land. And those are fun. They're obviously not as much prize pool, but it's just the vibes. It's literally for the vibes. You go there, you meet everyone that you normally wouldn't at major lands. You just have a good time. Win some cash here and there. Obviously, I don't think he's lost a minor land. He holds it dear to his heart. But yeah, so then that's the World War II season. World War II had some really good minor lands. then heading into Black Ops 4, and that's what I wanted to touch on. At the end of VS, went outside with Alton. You guys, I think, were just about to play your grand finals.
Mm-hmm.
We were knocked out at that stage. We were planning it from the beginning, brother. Him and I went outside, we had a little chat. Gonna get you in after this.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I was so excited because at the time you guys were the only team that actually had promises of being overseas.
Yeah.
And if anyone knew me, especially in World War II, when I was more or less at my like peak in maturity, I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to go overseas. Had the chat with you guys. I'm not too sure how much you knew about it. I know it was just Alton and I mainly one-on-one. Getting you in after this season, it's going to be a good Black Ops 4 season, and then it actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up... Who was the beginning team for that Black Ops 4 season?
It was Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we start off with
Yeah,
Jordan?
Yeah, because we went to London.
Oh yes, London
London
was in the
wasn't the
beginning of
start,
there. So
yeah.
then we had the team. It was myself, Kohvz, Rahil, Raz, Dylan, Lithium, Alton Inferno, who obviously doesn't play anymore, and then Jordan Scorpio. I'd say it was a tough year because personally I felt that moving to 5v5, we
Yeah.
never really had a fifth that was constantly up to date with what we were. Sorry, Jordan, I didn't mean to put you out there, but it carried on.
No, but wait, I want to say you can't really say it because Jordan was an AR player.
But that's what I mean.
And you
I'm
had him
not
play
sa-
Sorg.
I'm
yeah.
not saying that Jordan was a problem as in skill. Jordan was insane at
Just
Black Ops
couldn't
4.
find someone that fits at it.
I love playing Jordan, but the role changes. I remember in the beginning we also had, because I went to Sorg for a little bit, then we switched back to Maddox, and then you were second ICR in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I became the second ICR going into London. So then, basically, how it was afterwards is when it comes to actual London, then we obviously had the 5 I just stated with Jordan. We felt pretty confident going into London. I remember make fun with Ollie now. Obviously, we didn't know how good the international standard was.
They're
This is the
insane.
first time South Africa headed overseas since.
With the new current gen players.
Yeah, that's what I'm
you
saying.
know.
It was Ghosts,
Yeah.
and that was for champs, and 3 out of the 4 players weren't even South African,
Mhm.
and they got rolled.
Yeah.
Extaz during the Black Ops 2 season got rolled. They went to champs, and do you see those memes that
Yeah.
Cased and them and Big Time still make, where like
What was that?
who was the easiest nationality to play against,
Yeah.
and they're like South African.
Wasn't that South African team that got
Because
absolutely
I'm pretty
smoked?
sure there was like 250 to
2 or
5.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it now. I'm so glad we went overseas because we really set the standard a little bit higher. Because how do you get 5 clubbed?
Yeah,
I understand
especially
you-
Black Ops 2. Like,
It's-
that's a bit
just
hard.
rotate, like literally just rotate. That's all
Rotated
you need
one
to
set
do.
of gunfights and you
Like
saw
I understand you're playing Clay, literally probably one of the best, if not the best AR currently, and obviously he was
And Black Ops 2 is insane.
he's like that was his
Yeah.
prime, but just rotate.
Yeah, like,
like
come on.
it can't be that difficult. Like I've played the top people in EU now, and there's no way I'm getting 5 club.
Yeah.
That's why I it's sort of like not demoralizing, but I wish South Africa didn't get sent over that early. Obviously, not World War II, Ghosts kind of messed it up. That's where they stopped sending us overseas because
Yeah.
of that whole mess up. 3 EU players got sent for a South African team.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish those 2 years didn't happen for COD and we actually
Maybe.
got national circuits. Because I was speaking with a couple of people. How cool would it have been if South Africa still had national circuits for every event?
Oh,
you win,
huge.
you win the national circuits for every tournament. You get sent over by Call of Duty
Call of
to
Duty.
play every tournament. I feel like that would have done a lot for the local scene because even though it's say it was us because we've been quite dominant the past couple of years, or even the Bravado team in World War II.
Yeah.
If those certain teams got sent over, it would bring so much knowledge and experience back that our scene would actually be a lot better and more experienced than it is
Be a
now.
lot more players and stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one thing because people would actually play.
Yeah.
They'd want to, even if they know they're not fairest, they'd play a national circuit. They'd want to make it over to be sent over for free. So just touching on that, just finishing up and then heading over to London. I remember that I was so excited.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember we were supposed to go to Fort Worth in
Yeah,
the
and then
beginning.
I ended up getting my passport.
Yeah, so we had some technical difficulties. So we were actually supposed to go earlier on to Fort Worth as a team. That didn't end up happening. And then we looked to what was the nearest event after that, what was most suitable. Obviously, London was the most suitable. We play
Yeah.
EU servers. We knew a couple of people. And obviously, we had some connections over in the EU. We bounced on that immediately as fast as we could. I remember how scary it was going into the visa application center.
Oh.
And I was like, please don't decline.
Oh.
Please give us our visas.
And there was a problem with the visas that we weren't going to get
Get
them
them
in
on
time.
time.
And
I
then
think it was going to take us, we went there a week and a half before heading to London. and it took I think 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I sat down like it's not happening. Fortnite didn't happen. This isn't happening. Luckily, the owners of our organization at the time pulled through, and I remember how happy I was when we got that approved visa.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was like, okay, we're flying in like because when we got, I think we were flying in like 3 days because we had a very minimal time.
Yep.
And then from there, it was still to this day my favorite experience in my life and the greatest experience in my life
Definitely will be.
because I remember just hopping on that plane, heading to because we flew to Qatar first,
Yep.
Doha
Doha.
Airport,
Yep.
and then we headed straight to Heathrow, and I like flying and everything, but I don't know how many times was that your first time flying overseas?
Yes, it was.
That makes the experience so much better.
Exactly.
So it was your first time experience flying overseas. It was a 8-hour flight to Doha and then 9 to Heathrow.
Yeah,
Something like
something like that.
I think I know it was much
It was
longer than when I fly to Eastern Europe. So then we get there, and I remember as soon as we landed in the airport, I was like, "Fresh, we in London, baby. This is what it's all about." And I've always had those experiences before when flying to lands to Cape Town, like with energy, and just you know how you feel good when you're getting flown to a city to compete. You know, it makes you feel professional. Obviously, it's in South Africa at the time, so it's not professional. But now being sent to an international stage, it's happening now.
Mhm.
Now it's time to prove yourself, and then obviously I just want to. You came as our coach, so you weren't actually playing, but you got to experience basically everything that we got to experience as well.
London, even though I didn't compete at London, it was still much probably my best experience in life.
Mm.
I didn't compete, but I was with the guys 24/7 at the boot camp, at the events. It was like you like the experience was insane. The hotel we stayed was really nice. Like we walk into the lobby as soon as we get there. Like Crim's standing
You
there.
got the hotel
Pharaoh,
where all the pros are staying at.
or IPF3. Then it was just like it was unreal. Like you're surrounded by all these people you've been watching for years, and they're super chill. Like you speak to them like it's nothing. And you just say what's up, and they're like, "Oh, can I grab a photo?" It's like, "Yeah, sure." I took a photo of Dashi and Tej, like one of the iconic photos.
I've never fanboyed more in my life. I was there like squealing.
Like it was insane. Like I remember we went down for dinner once, and I was like, "Oh damn, I left my the pass for the I left that in the room." So I was like, "Rob, can I quickly go grab it?" So I hop into the elevator, formal karma, just chilling in the elevator. I'm like, "What's up?"
Yeah, the funniest story is we had to take a taxi and an Uber to the actual hotel. You guys went together. You, Jordan, Alton, and Dylan.
Yeah.
You guys went together in an Uber, and myself, the owner of Bravado, and Ollie took a cab. That shit's expensive.
It was expensive.
So we were like running 40 minutes behind them. It took a bit longer. We get there. Oh no, sorry. We were like 20 minutes out. Alton phones me and he's like, "We just hopped out the Uber. Crim6 is outside of the hotel." I'm like, "You're talking shit, man." Because we weren't supposed to stay at this hotel originally.
Yeah.
We got a change because we thought it would be a better suited hotel. So I'm like, you're just chatting shit. This isn't what is actually happening. So we park outside the hotel, don't see anyone. I'm like, he's chatting shit. Walk inside, Dash and T just standing there. I'm literally like, I'll literally start. Bro, like I've never fanboyed more in my life. I know you're also a big Dashy fan. And I just sat there, I was like, at the time in Black Ops 4, those were my two favorite players. Them as a duo, still to this day, I loved when Dash and T were together. So I'm busy standing there, I'm like, I don't know what to do. And then like touching on Ollie's experience, it just continued rolling out. So after this first day, we got used to it. But it's like coming from South Africa, I know a lot of you would want to experience this, is when you meet the people you've idolized for so long and want to be competing against. When they're right in front of you, it's the craziest feeling. But that's a nice thing. Once you start playing against them or start being around them more, it becomes normal. Yeah. That's how you want it to be because you want to be that high status. So I remember just formal walking in and out of my elevator, Karma there, Scump, the whole Optic team. I remember Trey Zero and GodRX were chilling at the bar. Tommy, who I was really good friends with at the time. Obviously, that was one of the best things. When I locked eyes with Tommy, he locked eyes with me. We knew that's the South Africans. I was like, that's fucking Tommy. Get in there. But it was a good experience. I enjoyed just the beginning part of it. Obviously, we're going to get into the competing part.
Yeah.
But just getting there and experiencing everyone for who they are and like actually seeing the people who you idolize. And one thing I'll say is that American accent is very different in person.
Yeah, I know.
Everything sounds more southern in person than what you do, because when you watch all the pro streams,
It's not normal.
You don't even think they have an accent. You just think they sound normal. When I met Dashy, even though he's Canadian, it sounded so southern. I was like, "Yo, is this Dashy?" It was like, "Bruce, are you okay?"
The whole vibe was different though. Like we wake up early because we had to be up quite early, and you could go downstairs, get breakfast and everything, and it was such a different feeling because everyone that was downstairs and up at the time, especially the hotel, we stayed at the Moxie, and at that time, that's where almost all the pros stayed. So it was just lucky like timing for us that we
Thank
got
God
up.
we switched hotels.
Yeah, so you walk down for breakfast and it was like Silly and God Rex were chilling in the lounge. You know, like you see the Optic guys walk outside. You got everyone there. I mean, Parasite was even there.
Yeah,
and it's
Ollie's a big Haggy
Yeah,
supporter, so
I'm a-
he was like, Rob, you need to get me a picture with Haggy. So he called Haggy. I'm getting some nice.
Yeah, like Haggy was there. Like obviously, I'm a big fan of Haggy. I respect him a lot, and it was just a different feeling. Like you can't compare that to any South African event ever. It's like I wish that everyone who's in competitive gets the chance to experience that kind of feeling that we experienced that weekend, because that was, even though, as I said, even though I didn't play and I just coach / manage the guys, it's still the best time of my life that I've experienced.
Okay, now let's. Was it the first day we went to the Red Bull facilities?
We waited a day and then we went
Yes.
and we scrimmed.
So that's us. So let's head into now the starting of the competitive journey at London. Obviously, first day we just got there, we were chilling, not doing too much, just getting familiar with where we needed to be, where we were going. Second day, obviously, we had a partnership with Red Bull, so they took us over to the Red Bull Sphere. I'm just thinking we're going to be playing bots, just getting warm for the day. Hop in there immediately. It's not sick little area, like a little Red Bull hub.
Awesome.
You go downstairs, very like futuristic, has setups and everything. Get down there, it's just a splice and 100 T.
100
Just splice and 100 T scrimming in the room next to us. I'm like, cool. This is getting too much, a little bit too much for me now. Obviously, at that time we were used to because we've seen everyone, but it was pretty cool. So we waited for the splice and 100 T guys to finish up their scrims. They had more of a mid-afternoon scrim, and we were chilling there until night. So then they finished up, and then we headed into the private room where they were scrimming. And luckily, this is where the connection came in that I'm glad, which I'm good friends with now, who's Luke Bids. Obviously, I don't know how Dylan knew, like not knew Bids, because obviously we kept up to date a lot, our team, with international players. But how the hell did Dylan get into contact with Luke? Because that is one thing I still to this day, I don't think he's told me, because I knew the team at the time was Luke, Insight, obviously who plays for Toronto Ultra now, CODZA, Detain, and Quicker. Obviously we knew Quicker more than majority because he was a pro when we were watching. So then I knew most of them, and then I was like, I'm getting the Singularity guys at the time, we're gonna bootcamp them. And I'm like, how the fuck did you pull that off, Dylan? Because Singularity, I believe, were third seed heading into London.
Yeah, they were probably the favourites to win it.
Yeah, I think I spoke to Luke and they said they were the favourite. So I was like, how do you get that? Not asking questions. So they, straight from their train when they arrived in London, they went straight to the boot camp with us, which I'm very grateful for. They took time. Obviously, they knew who we were, but they still like a random South African team at the time. Yeah, it's a risk for them. Like, obviously, they will do anything to get some practice. And going to the day they've just travelled, they need to warm up. But still, it was pretty cool that they agreed to have a boot camp with us, and I don't think we really disappointed. I mean, I feel like we played really well. I know they weren't really too happy about our playstyle, which looking back at it now, our playstyle wasn't too great back then. Like we were miles ahead of South African players and teams, but at that time we didn't know that you had to play as a team, especially in a 5v5 game. Because I remember when we were playing them on Arsenal Control, sitting on that jet, I was sitting in a corner, and then you have, I think it was Detain, CODZA, and Insight. I see a grapple fly, I see a person slide, I see a person jump out. I'm like, what am I supposed to do against 3 people? I'm supposed to be becoming one-on-one with someone. That's 5 people, one-on-one. That's how it's supposed to work. And then after that, I knew, I was like, we need to change some stuff up. So I think we played like 4 HPs, 3 controls. Yeah. We did pretty decent, but obviously they had just came in, they weren't really warm. But I still feel like we showed that we had the gun skill. But I knew after we played them, we had to change how good our teamwork was.
Our teamwork was not good compared to that.
No. And that's the one thing it showed. Now heading into the actual London tournament,
our HPs were.
We got railed in HPs, bro.
Yeah, our HPs were.
I think our first, we were second last seed in that tournament. Obviously, we're not allowed to play pro points from South Africa. I think we had a solid 100 because I used to play some pro points with Vadix, just here and there, just for fun. And we were second last seed, but we did get a pretty easy first round.
Yeah,
I think.
First round was easy.
Yeah, I think it was a quick 2-0. Not what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more difficult, especially being like last seed. So, obviously, rolled them. Confidence is high. And then we get put up against Vortex, which was Denza, Nasty,
Wee Man?
No, not Wee Man. Denza, Nasty,
Moose.
Kreza,
Yeah,
Moose, and someone else. Was it Grad? Could have been Grad or somehow mistake for not knowing who the fifth is. And we got rolled in
Oh.
HP. What was it? 250 to 55.
It was something like
It
that.
was frequency as
horrible.
well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rolled against them, and then we played them in frequency S&D as well, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was frequency.
No.
Was it Hacienda? Was it?
No, it was frequency because I remember we went 6-4. It wasn't that much of a blowout in the S&D.
Yeah, it was frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was
So then, at that point, you're like, our respawn is horrible.
Oh.
Then we went down to loser bracket, and then I'd say our run there was pretty easy as well. I
Yeah.
think we played 3 teams which we quickly
3 or 4, yeah.
3 teams which we quickly 2-0'd, and then we went up. It was the end of, was it Saturday?
End of Saturday.
Friday.
Friday.
End of Friday.
Yeah.
And we are tired, bro. We've just played like 5 series. Obviously against like really good competition. We take everything 100%. This is like our first opportunity. And then we get told we're playing either, I can't remember what the team was. Legion or Crazy Crew, which was Legion at the time was like BB Connor, Chaxter, Toby Kleenex, who plays for Ultra now, and Dylan at the time, myself and Dylan knew who Toby was. We knew he was insane, so we're like, don't want to play them. Let's play the loser of that. So we played Crazy Crew, which at the time was just a name. We didn't know who they were, but we found out that they were 8th seed in the whole tournament, and they were the national circuit winners from France. I think their IGL was Maxi, because I knew he was verified on Twitter. He was a very prominent name in the French scene. And it was the end of Friday. I was tired, bro. And we heard that they were 8th seed. I didn't say we were going to lose, but I was like, this is going to be difficult.
Everyone was like, if they pull this win off, it's like a dub already for the rest of the tournament. Like, no one expected, even like Vadix was there, and he was saying, like, there's no chance these guys
Yeah,
win.
because like, it's just, in hindsight, you'd think the 8th seed would beat like the 120th seed or whatever we were. And obviously these guys were really good at the time. I think 1 or 2 players from that team still play to this day. And obviously the good thing about our mentality as a team is we don't care who's on the opposite side of the stage.
Yeah.
We're just there to play. We know that we're good. It was just difficult adapting to the play style. So it didn't end off any better. First map we get 45 club and Hacienda HP. I get there, I'm like, bro, we start this, win this map, we win this series. I remember saying that, hop in Hacienda, 45 club. Cool. I wouldn't say my motivation, I was demotivated, but I was like, we have to pull something out of our arse to get this shit going. 45 club, I was like, this is going to be difficult. I'm pretty sure all of us were feeling that. Like, the only good thing is we knew our respawn was shit.
Yeah.
Or not respawn in general,
HP.
but HP was shit. So we were like, put it past us. Alton was giving us some good motivation. Like, just put it past us, doesn't matter. S&D came up, I think we beat them 6-3, 6-4.
Frequency.
6-3, 6-4. So that was also a really good standing point. We beat someone on frequency, which
was the worst map for us that event.
Yeah, because the problem with frequency is it's a very Sorg dependent map. And one thing that I've noticed, I wouldn't say until this day because ARs in like EU are really good, but the sub players in EU, or like it was the whole international circuit, because obviously there was no franchising, there was no
American teams.
So the American teams were there. Sorg players specifically in Black Ops 4 were unreal compared to everyone else. So you had to have good Sorg players heading into maps like frequency or what is the one that you used to run the AK on? Seaside, like small maps like that, you need prominent Sorg players. And it's not that our Sorg players were bad, it's just because the level of competitiveness in South Africa wasn't up to standard at the time, that our Sorg players were good but couldn't hang with the Sorg players of EU. Because even I remember Alton was doing really well at the time. Me and you, Maddox, obviously it's an easier role to run as well, but we were doing pretty decent. Yeah. It's just it's not even our Sorg players that were doing bad, it's the pressure we had around the map. So getting rolled on frequency every time and then finally winning a frequency against Crazy Crew and tying it 1-1, that was a good feeling. Yes. And then we headed into Arsenal Control.
Yeah.
And the infamous full streaks Cupido. Jordan, if you're in chat, I love you, dog. So we head into Arsenal Control, feeling pretty confident. Our Arsenal Control was really good in South Africa, especially. And then we also played it really well against Singularity in the bootcamp. Yeah. So was it a 3-0 or 3-1?
3-1.
3-1. So I think we split 1-1. And then I remember it was Jordan and I, we puffed off. I think Jordan finished the map of 26 and 9 or 8. Full streaks. I got 1 streak, I think. And bro, the comms at the end of that map, we were screaming.
No.
Jordan's like, streak this, I'm streaking this. And I remember they couldn't even touch the jet control point. And we literally got to the final round when we were 2-1 up. We pushed up all the way into the trophy room. And they couldn't do anything. And that was the most hard, but I've never seen a team more demotivated and heartbroken than Crazy Crew after we beat them.
Because they were not expecting
that.
that.
You can see how disappointed they were in themselves that they just lost to the South Africans.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't think there's a point in my life where I was more excited, bro. I remember we stood up, I was hugging Ollie, I was hugging Alton, I was like, we just did that, bro. That was crazy and everything. And that's... obviously the HP they smoked us. The control, the S&D was close, but I don't think the control was close. Like,
the control we smoked them.
We did well, and like doing that against the top 8 team, I was very happy with our performance. And then obviously we had the whole crew of Shani, Brad, and then waiting outside because everyone had to evacuate. Ollie being the cameraman there, he somehow convinced the admins that he could stay because he was our coach. And he was there on Periscope, periscoping everything. And he was making sure that the South Africans, because it was big that South Africa could see that.
We got a lot of views on that Periscope. It was like 250 at the time.
But that's the most important. It was so important that South Africans could see that, because it's one thing, okay, the South African team won, but experience that moment where we took down the top 8 team and actually made it to Saturday.
I remember there was a lot of tweets going around after that.
Yeah.
Like, wait, did the Frenchies just lose to the South Africans?
Yeah. Because people heard that we were the South Africans, they heard of Bravado, but they didn't know who we were. And when we took them down, I feel like that was the moment, the shifting moment that, okay, these guys are probably like a big deal now, they can actually compete. Obviously, we didn't have any international practice going into that, maybe like GBs here and there, but being in EU, I noticed people don't take GBs seriously. I remember back in the day, we used to be like, GBs, if you play this, you're going to get better. People don't take GBs seriously. They
just pick up teams and they just run
they played for fun. Yeah. So pulling that off with no international exposure was massive.
I think if we were there for a couple of weeks and we had international practice, we could have made such a good run.
Yeah, see, that's what I agree with you. And we were supposed to. I mean, we were supposed to go a week before. That's what we wanted to do. Obviously, it doesn't always turn out like that. If we had a week of playing against the Singularity guys, playing against teams like Crazy Crew, Vortex, or University, which I'll touch on, who knocked us out, I feel like top 16, top 12 would have been really good. So then Crazy Crew just been knocked out, and then we kind of messed up on that Saturday morning. So we were determining whether we should wake up early, get into the LAN event to shoot some bots, because we went to bed very late because that tournament ended very late. Yeah. So we were like, should we sleep, get well rested, and then head to the tournament after that and just play immediately? Well rested, we have energy, or should we wake up a little bit earlier, be a little bit more tired, and then get some practice in? I think Ollie was favoring getting in early, making sure we get some bots being shot, just being familiar with the place we're playing at. And then Alton said that we should get some sleep and everything. So we obviously went for the sleep and everything, and I feel like we kind of messed up with that. We got to the event, and as soon as we walked in the building, they were already calling Bravado to get to your station because you're late. We had to hop on our setups immediately, and it wasn't the worst of starts. We were playing University. At the time, I didn't really know who they were, but now obviously I'm friends with Frim. Gabe is still in my pocket. I remember if you're watching this, she's still in my pocket. But I remember, I didn't know who Gabe was at the time. I fucking love Gabe now. But at the time, I didn't know who he was. I think I might have known Callum. I think Callum was on that team, because I knew that Callum was pretty good. University obviously was an NA org at the time, picked up an EU team. Headed into their first ICN, we won 250 to 200.
And we won
an HP, bro. I was like, these kids are ass.
This, right?
And I remember Gabe still roasts me to this day that we were screaming at them. Bro, after their first HP, we were standing up. I remember their main AR wasn't like the greatest player, and Alton was screaming at him like, you main AR, you shit, all of that shit. Then that's where Vito's came in.
Oh, no.
We decided, let's pick frequency S&D and frequency control to end off the series. Not the greatest. Not the greatest of choices. We got rolled in that S&D, I think 6-1.
It is.
And then
3-0.
And then the infamous
and I will say
3-0, where I think Frim got about 3 streaks on us. Aroma got a pair of streaks. And we literally, I didn't even remember capturing a control points on that. We literally, when we were on attack, we got rolled.
Yeah.
Like going into that event, I did a lot of watching of the EU teams and tried to understand the playstyle, because that's one thing. Like South African playstyle, it's completely different, and I don't think it's beneficial, our playstyle. Maybe in situational moments, every now and then we can get away with it. But I clicked at that event that our Sorgs didn't know how to take map pressure, like the EU playstyle of Sorgs. And I was saying, please get rid of frequency. Don't play frequency today. And it ended up getting a double frequency, and that's what I think. If we get AR maps on those two maps, I think we would probably win. I just think we weren't good at frequency at the time. Like no one to blame. The team in general just didn't have the playstyle for that kind of map against those kind of players with the pressure on the map. So I was trying to get away from frequency, but in South Africa, Bravado, our best map at the time was frequency. But like you can't take what you learn in South Africa and pull it overseas. Sure, you can take small little situational plays, but in the grand scheme of things, you have to completely adjust your playstyle to the EU or NA playstyle wherever you go. We can't take our playstyle. Like I think it's only the Australians that have a specific kind of playstyle where they take their playstyle and go to EU and NA and they can compete against it. You know, it's also like aggressive playstyle. But our playstyle in South Africa is kind of like
single shell.
Just throw your headbutt everything and hope you get. I think the best way to describe a South African playstyle is timing. South African playstyle is we play off timings, whether it's a good play or not.
You see a gap and you think the person isn't watching it. You fly.
Yeah, that's been for years. That's a South African playstyle. It's playing off timings, and that's one thing that they did adjust really well to when we were there. But I think it was at that point that's all we knew how to play. So it would still come out and like. Single challing or over peaking, it would always come out, and I think on frequency you can't have that because the other team is pushing you 5-man no matter what. So if you are losing a gunfight here by yourself, you're just giving the other team an advantage. So I think that's where like that whole place.
I got so frustrated because there was never like one time where I got like in a 1-on-1 gunfight.
Yeah.
It's always two people just shooting at me.
That's when I touched on singularity, when they 3 challenge me, and I'm like, in South Africa we knew mostly Sorg against Sorg or like Sorg against ICR and then Malox against Malox. I'm supposed to be coming against one gunfight. That's my man. Like KODZA at the time, that's my man. Not KODZA Insight and fucking Detain. That wasn't supposed to be my man. But Lee, yes, we can see the chat. We're gonna actually go into more chat, ask questions, and more into community stuff when we head to Ollie and I's experience in the EU.
Yeah.
But we just want to catch everyone up on how and like get them in depth of how it was to actually play and experience London, because I know a lot of people haven't heard the story of us playing there and actually want to know how it was. But a nice little story to tell you after, because a lot of the EU guys told me while I was overseas, and Roma also told me at the time, frequency was their best map. They used to take frequency off top 3 teams or top 6 teams at the time. Yeah. So it was fantastic to. Yeah. They told me they were so happy that they got frequency because they knew how good they were at the time, and rightfully so. We got rolled.
Yeah, we got
smoked. I remember after we lost that, especially being 1-0 up, I was never. So depressed and demoralized in my life, bro. We went afterwards. We were watching.
When we lost. We sat because it was a downstairs area that like a lot of the people saw in pictures, and there was like upstairs stations, like I think 3 stations upstairs. So we played upstairs. We lost, and the other 2 teams that were at the station also played, and they did their matches. And then they cleaned up the stations because that was it. That was like the last upstairs stations. Everything went down to main stage after that. And they cleaned up, everyone was gone. There's just us 4. I'm pretty sure like if you go, there's like a video of us on YouTube, all 4 or 5 of us sitting in a circle, just, you know, our heads in our hands, you know, like we sat there for about 45 minutes. No one said a word. We just sat there
But even after that, we went to the grandstands to watch the main stage. And I remember I put that tweet out like, and I meant what I said in that tweet. I was like, I'm sorry to disappoint everyone. Like, we're not good enough. I was like, and I meant that shit because that was not what I was expecting. Like, we get held high for the top 32 that we placed, and obviously it was our first international event, but I really felt we could have done better.
Oh, definitely.
I feel like we could have pushed top 16 into the event. I know a lot of EU people might agree, but honestly, with the skill we had and how quickly we were learning just by playing the teams at the event, if we had just maybe come in a little bit earlier.
A week, I'm just telling you. Just
all that week practice, like we would have done so much better.
If we get an extra week of practice there, and maybe understanding the importance of vetoes at the time, because we didn't really think like it's a map, you know, you play to win, but especially now you see in the CDL, like teams can literally win series off vetoes, and I think people recognize that a bit earlier before us, and like that it was like a combination of a lot of things. I don't think it was anything to do with gun skill or not being able to compete or win gunfights. It was more the external factors like you know, warming up, being there on time, getting maybe if we could we were on I think that's what the organization at the time could provide us with, but if we maybe got an extra weekend of practice with scrims, and then to add the importance of vetoes, I think that's a different event outcome.
But I just want to touch on quickly on our story is the importance of LAN. And this is like just touching on the COVID era and people that are getting too cocky when it comes to online, because LAN's completely different. Yeah. And I remember like we said, I was a big Dashy fan, but I remember I was walking through the stands while Optic was playing, and everyone, when Dash used to get like a 3-piece, they go bruise. And I was walking there, and Dashy got like a 5-piece, or like a 5-man, and they were screaming Dashy, they were doing the bruise chant, and I think that's just before we were playing the Crazy Crew. And I was like, I'm not losing a gunfight after this, bro. The momentum and like the feelings you get at LAN can't compare to online, bro.
Definitely.
These past 2 years are, it ain't real, especially in South Africa, bro. Like, obviously international, they get the most fairness that they can and everything, but in South Africa, everyone is playing on maximum 30 ping. They're getting too comfortable for what they think LAN might be, or a lot of the players that you said on the come-up now probably haven't played a proper LAN before.
That's like, now that we're going to go into speaking about how EU went, one thing I noticed is, I think, actually a lot of the EU guys asked me about this, and they were asking about how does ping work in South Africa, how is it? And I said South Africans are very spoiled with ping.
Very
We are, like, even us at the time, like, we were complaining about 40 ping on fiber to fiber host.
That's the important part, fiber to fiber.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it was Parasites, and then when they were talking when they were playing 8s, just before the season ended, he said that, well, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was roughly something like this they were talking about. If you are fiber to fiber and you're pinging under 60, there's no disadvantage. You are at the exact same level, even if someone's on 40 and you're on 50 or 30 and 50, it's the exact same thing. The only thing you will have an advantage or disadvantage of is to host, which is expected. But going into EU, I wanted to put my head in the wall multiple times, and Rob can explain why.
Bro, like, okay, we can touch on EU, obviously. Now, heading into the Modern Warfare season was kind of easy for us. We steamrolled everyone. That wasn't too difficult. We were really good at that game as well. And then heading into the Cold War season, we wanted to head over in the beginning, but then obviously travel ban everywhere, ban South Africa, so that kind of didn't help at all. And then Ollie and I were like, okay, Rahil can't really get out the country at this time. Ollie and I could, because we had Macedonian passports. So we're like, okay, cool, let's try see if we can get overseas for like 2 months, the end of the season. We went kind of late, which I regret because it didn't give us enough time, but also we did pretty well for what we could. And then, so we're like, went to GigaHub. Obviously, we joined GigaHub in like end of Feb, maybe March.
Yeah.
And then they also had the exact same vision we had, doing the most we can to send over as a team, but they knew that this would be so important to network, go over, make more of a name for ourselves that we did in Black Ops 4. So Ollie and I ended up going in the start of June to Macedonia. Obviously, a lot of people were surprised by that. Obviously, they're thinking we're going to the UK. Some people think Macedonia is in the UK. So we ended up going to side of Europe. And like, I emphasize that because we went to the complete eastern side of Europe. It's the only place we could have gone at the time. Obviously, if we could go into the UK, our full team would have gone. But we made do what we could. Then we went to Eastern Europe. We got there beginning of June. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks, which we had to stay with our dad. And obviously, it wasn't the greatest of setups we could have had. Like, I was playing on a table that was half my size. My back was gone after those 2 weeks.
I was playing on a table that came up to my knees, and I sat on the bed. There was no back. I was literally chalk. My back was dead.
I sat on a little stool, and then the table was literally half of this table size. So I was leaning. I even remember I tried Valorant because I'm a big Valorant player. I was playing like this. I was like, so that wasn't ideal, but even the internet wasn't the greatest because it was shared by my dad and everyone that was around at the time.
It was a 10 meg copper.
Yeah,
it was a 10 meg copper.
10-1.
Yeah, it was horrible. But that's what also want to say. What we spoke about earlier is, I haven't played internationally yet. So for me, it was like I was a bit nervous. I wouldn't say nervous. It was just like I didn't know what to expect in terms of playstyle, because like obviously Rob has played overseas before and he plays a lot with the guys, like his EU mates and everything like that. I didn't really get much EU exposure, so I didn't know what the outcome was. And even if, like, this is what I'll say to like any South African if you're going to go overseas, even if you expect a playstyle change, it's not as easy to adapt. I've been playing at the top for the past 2 years with GigaHub, with the team, and going there, I remember we were playing 8s, and then we went into scrims. We played the 2K that next weekend, so we didn't have a lot of time in scrims. And even Rob comes to me after we scrummed, because at the time we had the same team, and Rob was like, "You're playing way too fast." And I'm the main AO of the team, and I was like flying first sometimes. That South African playstyle sticks with you, even if you're expecting, you have to change it. And that was what it took me a couple of days to get to it. I think Rob adjusted very quickly. It took me a couple of days, and once I started getting into the groove of things with like the playstyle of EU playstyle, and that's one thing I say with going back to the CWL London. it took me a couple of days to adjust to it. These guys didn't have any practice. They basically went straight into the tournament. So if it's taking me a couple of days to adjust to it, and I'm expecting to adjust to the playstyle, it's not easy. It's very difficult, and you're going to get rocked some games. Like, some games you're going to get put in the absolute blender, but you kind of have to just be like, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating, but you have to understand where you're going wrong. And I spoke with Robert about it, and he's like, you know what, you're an AR. Like, AR's there, and especially players in general are way more disciplined than us here. And that's like one thing I had to learn into my playstyles, to be extremely, even if your teammate dies, you don't have to force a trade. There's all these small little, like, millisecond decisions in the game that you have to just stick to and be very, very obedient to, that you don't just, you know, fall for the tunnel vision, basically.
And then, so the first 2 weeks, Ali and I tried to stay together as much as we could.
Pro points.
Obviously, we had no pro points. I mean, I had 195, but that's not going to do anything when people are already on like 10k and like the top guys on like 30, 40k. So we tried to stay together, but that obviously ended up not working because both of us together with no pro points
We couldn't make
was not good. So there was this first 2 weeks we played together. We placed top 32 both times. Wasn't too bad. I apologize to Connor and Kohvz, Jack, for that first 2 weeks while we were still in quarantine, because that must have been a mission to play with us.
And that's 2K I fried though.
We fried. It was Ali. Ali was giving you props there.
I fried that
'Cause
2K.
that first HP we had, I think you dropped 46, and I dropped like 39, and Connor also did well. We all did well, but you could see it was difficult for us. And I can imagine for them, the scrims we had was like, nah, sorry, I'm getting a...
All I'm going to say is if anyone here thinks like 60 ping to a fiber to fiber host is bad, so playing 110 ping from copper to fiber, it's impossible. Like, you have to literally change your playstyle, and that was like the most frustrating thing. Is like with Rob and I spoke about, we would know how to position ourselves, but with our ping, the ping we were on, we couldn't hold the same angles as what we wanted to. We had to play a bit more passive, or you can't, like, you know, win a gunfight and like try and ego trial the second one. You have to just completely play your life, because it was one of the best experiences competing in EU now and experiencing teams and how the scene works. But I don't think I could have played to my full potential because of the ping disadvantage.
I mean, it's hard, right? Like, I mean, playing on 120 ping, especially with an AR, and like
No,
you have
it
like
was-
subs
it's- it-
starting
and
around the
the
corner, like,
submachine guns overseas are insane. I was getting cross-mapped every single time by somebody taking a gunfight. I remember playing, you know, multiple top players, whether it's 8s, whether it was in a 2K, and like I'm getting cross-mapped by a 74U, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, their subs in EU are insane. But so then I just want to carry on there. First of all, Dylan has the best internet in South Africa.
occupies all 5 spots.
Yeah, he literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Dylan, Lithium, Lambos. But then, so Ali and I decided to split. I had friends there. I'm gonna call out Ali because you still egoed me to this day. I was supposed to get in his team in the beginning, but they just had taken the spot from someone else. James, thank you. So basically, I wasn't in a team. I played this first 2 weeks with Ollie. Connor stopped playing Vadex. I know a lot of you know Vadex. He stopped playing because he's scared. So then for I think it was like 3 weeks, I didn't have a team. Every weekend, I was hopping teams, last second making a team. I think it was for both of us. Yeah. And then at the time, it's weird to think, like, also that's one thing I want to touch on is South Africans take things a little bit too seriously, especially when it comes to social media, because at the time, I teamed with him for those 3 weeks because we stuck together, was JME. So just some backstory, he was the guy when we played in South Africa, forfeited us every single 2K we came against him because we were South African. So I hated this guy, bro. I despised him. Went to Macedonia, I still didn't like him. Like, he was the guy that pissed me off everything. But it's one thing you need to understand is that it's a career, it's a job. You can't take shit seriously, and that's one thing that needs to be incorporated a little bit into South Africa is don't take things too seriously. It doesn't mean that much, because when I was in the pits, when I think I got on, we were just forming a decent team. It was me, you, Vital, and FIFA.
If we could have kept that team, I think we would have done really well.
We scrimmed top 10 teams, and we were splitting maps with them. Like, we were a good team. But then we hadn't played a tournament yet, but scrims were going really well. And then we realized that we weren't going to make LCQs with that team.
Yeah.
And
not enough pro points.
Yeah, not enough pro points, even though the other two had decent amount. So with that, we were like, hey, we got to split up. And that's when Jamie...
I don't tell them we got to split up. They sent me a message saying, Ollie, you dropped.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I got a message the day next day saying I'm dropped as well. Thanks, Nick, if you're watching. I still love you, though. But then that's when the 2-3 week period where that's what I'm saying. It's difficult to adjust to play style, but I feel like it only took me or both of us a bit longer because I was literally teamless, not in a proper current team for 3 weeks. And 3 weeks of solid practice is a good enough time to adapt. So then that's when James, the guy that I previously mentioned that I hated, messaged me and he was like, "You guys are good, let's team." And I was like, you can't hate anyone anymore. You got to realize that the opportunity you get, you need to take. It doesn't matter what your past is with people, and that's what I wanted to touch on. Is it's not that serious, bro. If people snake you or anything, it's all a business, bro. James and I then started. We started playing together, and then because we play with you for one, and then we had like a decent team, but it was okay. I could tell after we played the first tournament, we played top 32, that it wasn't gonna be like a top team. And then basically after that, speaking from my perspective, I just kept getting screwed over. So it got to the point where 2Ks, James and I literally just played together. Jamie and I just played together, and he just got his IRL mates to play so we could play for the sake of it. So the first one we did okay. I think we played top 32, but we only had to play one series and then got rolled by Elevate. Was it Elevate? Did we play them twice? Yes, we got rolled by Elevate. And then
so there was different teams.
Yeah, and then the second week we had myself, James, Vinny, who was in the previous week that we got rolled by, and then we got Sketchy in, which was a decent team at the time. But I feel like that's what helped me get up to the ending of the EU Cold War season. Is we took Elevate, which was Bids, Denza, Weeman, and Hixie, to Game 5, and I was having a series, bro. I was doing well. I don't want to put them down, but I was having a good series against them. And like that team that we formed, that we did well, it was like people wouldn't even budge an eye to us. And we went first HP, we didn't do too well. I think we got rolled a bit. Then we won the S&D. Then we won the Control, which I was surprised by because we played Elevate the week before, and you could see their teamwork.
Yeah.
We played them on the same map as well, Checkmate, and their teamwork, bro. When I tell you, I'm not getting single child by one person, 3 people at once. And we beat them in the Control. I was like, if we realized, fuck, we can do this, bro. Then they smoked us in the HP. And before the HP, we went to map 5. And we went 3-0 up in map 5.
I remember watching
bro,
that.
standoff S&D. I started the map off 8-0 against them. I was like 3-0, bro. Let's just close this shit out.
I remember watching that. I was like, dude, they're actually going to do it.
I'm going to beat Elevate, bro. The pickup team, we're going to beat Elevate. And then we ended up losing 6-4 map 5. Obviously, they are a well-rounded team. They are one of the best, if not the best at the time. They're going to clutch up. Yeah. We obviously don't have that ice factor. But, bro, I was I wasn't disappointed because we were a pickup team. We almost beat Elevate to make top 16. But the part of me, that competitive part of me, was like, if we just beat them, bro, what could have happened? But then, obviously, we weren't going to stay together as a team because it was a pickup team. Like, I didn't mind playing with James, but also James wasn't too keen on playing more because, like, he was getting fucked over a lot as well when it comes to teams. So then that's where the infamous my final team was formed. So basically, I was looking for a team. I still knew my worth. People were gassing me off of that series against Elevate, and I knew that for this last month, I wanted to get into a top team. So that's when I was good friends with Jack Wiley. I love that man. He's such a good friend of mine now, probably the closest person I grew to. And then it was Marlo as well. And then at the time it was Vital Nick, who was probably one of the best S&D players I played with in EU. We were all on different teams. And then I got into a chat with Marlo and JC. And Marlo and I also, like, we were so close with one another. And I literally went to Jack. I was like, yo, Jack, let's team. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm sorry in you. I was pestering people to play with me, bro. Because I needed to get a team that I could show my worth. And then Jack was having some problems or I can't remember exactly. And then Marlo as well. Marlo had a good team at the time, but he wanted something different. And then obviously Nick at the time was really good. I played with Nick like twice. And then I was like to Jack, I was like, bro, let's just team, even though you're in a team. He's like, and then Marlo came into the Discord. I was like, Marlo, us three would be really good together if we got like Nick or someone else. I know they also wanted FIFA as well. That was going to be our fault instead of Nick. It was between those two. But they made the final decision to me, and I ended up going with Nick Vital. And I was like, bro, this team would be really good. And then Jack was like, Marlo, if you're keen, just do it. And then Marlo's like, I'm down if you guys are down. And that's literally how my ending team formed, heading into like the last week of the EU Cold War season. And then, bro, we were unreal when we played. So we the first couple of days of scrims, we were doing really well, like really, really well. But then not a falling out, but we started to have some struggles in scrims. We weren't like clicking with each other. Our play style was not coordinating with one another. People were too far, too back. Comms weren't good, and I feel like we weren't that good together. So then Vital ended up going to play for another team, and then we got Spin in. And I wish we got Spin in at the beginning. I didn't know who Spin was. All I knew is he was friends with JC and Marlo, and Marlo teamed with him for majority of the season. A lot of like I think prior seasons. And Marlo, JC, if you watch it, I wish we got Spin in immediately. You guys are right. That chemistry we had with me, JC, Marlo, and Spin was unreal. We ended up only losing one map in LCQs. We were rolling everyone, and then we got that nice little win against Mad Cats. Fusions, Rezi, and who was the other one? It was also a really good player. Well, it was Mad Cat, Rezi, Fusions, and someone else. So like ex-pro players. Obviously, you guys know Mad Cat, and then like those other three guys were really, really good. So obviously they were a pickup team as well, but we played really well. That's why I got the 52 kills against them on the control, and then we just smoked everyone else. We lost one map in LCQs to Kohvz's team. And then we went into bracket play, which I was really chuffed about. We actually made champs. And then we headed over to champs, made the infamous reverse sweep against Logic, XN and Co. That was hype, bro. We were screaming. I remember in my one team at JC, bro, these guys came into the chat after we finished game chat, like, GG's guys, everything. Jack just going to like, you're shit, you're dog shit. And he just starts roasting them. And like, it was the funniest thing ever because these guys are being nice. And Jack just goes ham on them, bro. That shit was mad funny. And then we were 1-0 in groups. And then we had Zero, Defrag, Henry, and I can't remember who the fourth was. Might have been Dave or someone. And then our other team, which we were playing, was Furious, Wardy, Nolson, and someone else. And we struggled all the time to beat those guys. Those guys, I think I played decently against those, but those guys were difficult to beat. And then now who I'm friends with, Henry, that's my bro, he knocked me out of, we would say to this day, he knocked me out of champs because it was him, Zero, Defrag, and I keep forgetting who the fourth is. And obviously, hearing those names, yeah, that's going to be difficult, but even Henry says that I played really well against them, but always roasting me, he's like, you fucking knocked me out of champs, bro. Like, come on, we're supposed to be homies. But then, yeah, we ended up placing like 17th at champs, which not bad considering that I had to play 2 full months on 110 ping.
Yeah, that's...
I remember I even tweeted it out where I was like, Colin, waking up today, let's see if I can get on a host for scrims that says 100 ping. And this is Copper. Nope, 110 ping every single series because Marlo, who was on our team, we made him host because he was the best host for the other two.
Okay.
110 ping for me.
Oh,
every series against Zero and Co, against it was Wardy and Nolson and Co, 110 ping, bro.
Especially playing at like the top level.
That's
right?
what I'm saying. Like when you're playing the best of the best,
such a
110
disadvantage.
ping, you know how mentally draining that is, and that's one thing that I think both of us can touch on. South Africans need to take shit seriously if they want to go overseas. We're putting in 12-hour shifts every day, 2 to 4 VOD review, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10, scrim, S&D chow. Straight after that, you're either doing VOD review from the scrims, or you're literally putting in self-time where you're playing bots, you're playing league play, you're improving yourself. And when you pair that 12 hours a day with, which is one thing with that, not I had to learn, but was really good, is taking criticism so often when you're playing at high pressure games. It's so mentally draining. And that's one thing that South Africans used to like downplay, especially with the top guys. I'm sure you've heard a lot, but I know that Ollie and I heard a lot, is you're taking it too seriously. These guys are actually scrimming. Like how
That's the worst mindset.
How stupid is that to think about? Yes, I'm winning. I'm scrimming a lot. I'm actually playing because I want to win.
Yeah.
I want to make this my career. And that's a mindset that South Africans have to get out of is, I don't care. Don't do what you want to do if you don't want to make this your passion or you want to make it a career. But if you do, don't hate on people that are trying to because it is difficult, bro. When you're playing 12-hour shifts a day, it is difficult. Taking criticism is difficult, but you got to get through that and push through that if you want to be the best.
Yeah, just to like touch on the last thing with EU. Rob had a nice little love story going back to the end of his one. When Rob found his team, I'm not even lying to you. I probably went through more teams in 2 weeks than I have in 5 years of competing here. Every second day it was a new team, new teammates. Scrims get chalked. This guy left. She left. We done. It's like, and that's literally like the cycle was. I found a team, I think 2 days before the LCQs, and I actually we became friends with the guys. We all still cool to this day, but I didn't make champs by one game. I went to game 5 with Nerd and them, and we played pretty well. We played a lot of the top teams in the LCQs pretty well. It's just unfortunate we had like 1 day of scrim practice, and then we went straight into the tournament, and it was super difficult. Like S&D, we won respawns. We were actually pretty good in respawn. Like we had good gun skill within our team, but then when it came to S&D, I don't even think we got more than 2 rounds in S&D. We got absolutely
You guys got railed on that express.
We got smoked in S&D. Our respawns were good, but that just shows we had no practice. We had no VODs. We couldn't do anything. So it's unfortunate I didn't make the LCQs with Rob. It would be nice to make like both of us coming with season making the champs.
Yeah, but you're one map.
I was a couple of rounds away from making.
And like you played well in that map 5. I remember watching it. I was like, I think you guys went 2. You lost 6-2, and you were like 2-2 neck and neck. I was like, you guys can do this. It's literally because obviously LCQs you don't rate the teams as high, but some stuff that I was seeing like as team play from your team was like horrible. And I was like, just one more map and we can both be in champs, and obviously it fell through.
Last round, well, for them it was the last round, 1v4. I made it down to a 1v1 basically, and I got stuck in the train.
On Express.
On top of the train, I got stuck. I smoked the first 2 guys. I made the other guy basically one shot, but if I had movement, I would have been able to kill him. I would have been able to kill him, but it's just unfortunate. But it was a good experience. And the next day, I got to watch Rob the whole day, and I tweeted it out. I'm pretty sure. I was sitting behind Rob the whole day. The amount of gunfights that I see Rob lose, straight up because of connection. No gun skill, no outplaying, no teamwork, nothing. Just straight up gun skill was about at least 60% of the gunfights, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that.
That stuff was rough. Like, I'm not someone to complain. Like, if I'm losing gunfights, if I get shit on, if I like take criticism, I take it. But when you're getting bullshitted half the time because of Con and you know you're better than some players, bro, that shit gets mentally draining. And that's the last point I want to touch on before heading into what's going to happen with Vanguard, and then obviously heading into our top 30 list, which I know a lot of people are keen
Everyone's
for.
staying here for.
Raz, maybe not like the top 10 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to play against an AR that is better than you in EU.
Bro,
more
gas.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about, because obviously you will still need to adapt to the playstyle and everything. I'm talking about raw talent and gun skill. Maybe like the top guys, obviously they're really good and they've had experience. But when it comes to outside of the top 16 like that, I'm still to find someone who's more difficult to kill than you. And that's what I was gassing you up in EU. I was like, wait until you have to play against Rahil. When you move, wait until you have to play against Rahil. Because you're insane when it comes to ARs, bro. And I was like, wait for him. Let me bring my team and wait for him to come. Because that's one thing. When you go overseas, it's not the thing is, I don't think will we be able to compete. It's just adapting to the playstyle.
How well we'll be able to adapt.
If we can adapt to a playstyle, bro, and we have practice, like you said at BO4, if we have practice, if we move over and we have practice, I don't see us like failing and everything.
I can
like
see us
that.
being. I'm not saying we're gonna immediately go there and win. It's not as easy as that. But I definitely think we can go over, and we're all very dedicated. We'll put the work in. I think it's just down to how quickly we can adjust to the playstyle and adapt, and just a matter of I think we can be a top contending team. Maybe not winning off the break, maybe not top 3s, but I definitely think that like any team wanting to play us would be like, okay, like listen, it's not an easy game. I think we can cause a lot of upsets. It's literally just comes down to how well we can just adjust to the playstyle.
And then just to end it off before we head into the top 30 list, I just want to touch briefly on the new COD, Vanguard, obviously coming out on Friday. I'm sure we all played the beta a little bit. Yeah. How did you guys enjoy it?
Pretty good.
I'm liking that game, bro. I wasn't the biggest fan of Modern Warfare, but I love the gun mechanics and I love the movement of Modern Warfare. I felt like the engine was so clean. And now you basically bring a more refined game with a better setting. I love World War II settings, better guns, with the same engine and everything like that. I feel like it's going to be a really, really good game as long as the maps are good.
I mean, Modern Warfare, like the mechanics were decent. It's just that the maps, they kind of
maps and like there were so many problems with it with squads. But that's coming back.
Yeah.
And then like there were certain bugs in the game that made it like sort of unplayable, which were not too great. But I don't know. That game was so fun to play in S&D, bro. Like we were playing 2v2, 3v3. I was playing with Rebounds Mark. I was playing with Theo. I was playing against like CODZA, Genesis, and those guys. and just playing top competitive S&D on that game in a beta, it was literally amazing. Better than in Cold War, 100%.
I mean, I like the with the CODZA scene right now. I really like how people are hyping up the season. I see a lot of like team announcements, people putting effort into videos, content regarding the team, you know, teasers, all that kind of stuff. And I think it builds with a good hype. I said to Rob and Raz earlier, there's a different kind of vibe about the season coming. You know, people I wouldn't say taking it more seriously, but people putting in more effort. I think that's a good way to put it. It's good to see on Twitter, you know, team announcements coming in, teasers for team announcements, dates, all this kind of stuff. And we also try to play into it a bit. And I think that's what we need right now, because this whole like mindset of like, some people are taking it too seriously. Some people, you know, like, oh, why are they taking it? Like, at the end of the day, like, anyone can make this a career. It's just, the community itself needs to like support. What happens in our community, I feel like, is people are very branched out. Everyone is like, here's their group, here's their group, here's their group, here's their group. Some people talk, you know, smack about other groups. Some people, you know, have like mutual, like, it shouldn't be like that. We're a community, you know, no matter if you're the top player, if you're a midfield player, or if you think you're new to the scene, everyone's got to support everyone. And that's like the main thing. Like, that's why other scenes get a lot of recognition, is because there's support, there's views on games, on streams. Okay, to be fair, our viewership, I think, in CODZA on matches has been really good. I think people downplay it for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. But individual streams and on Twitter and stuff, engagements, like, we just need to be more supportive. It goes a long way.
Yeah, just to touch on it's two different branches in South Africa. It's as a community and within the community. If you're talking, like, it's what I said when it comes to taking stuff too seriously. If you're in a scrim or a tournament, people talking shit, or in general, that's in the community. You keep that in the community. But when it comes to tournament support, team support, player support, it doesn't matter what happened in the community where you have beef with the player. You make sure you support that team, that player, that organization, that tournament when it comes to international exposure or building the community, because that's the only way. The community is not gonna grow if you had beef with someone and you're not gonna support. You're gonna boycott the tournament. You're gonna boycott that team or that individual when it comes to when it matters. Because whatever happened between you guys or between people, or like I said with Jamie, I hated him because he obviously took us out of the tournament. But when it comes to actually playing or making it a career, you got to put that shit aside, because it's for the bigger picture. So no matter how much you despise someone or a community or a player, you put that stuff aside. And when it comes to building the community or going international, you got to support, because that's the only way we're going to bring it back to South Africa and make South Africa its own established community.
With like, I think we as a community just take things a bit too seriously. Like, it's happened in the past year. Like, I know what Dylan does. It's like, if you go in game chat after a game and like we beat you and Dylan's like, you're shit, don't take it personally. It's just
roast it back. Take it personally, but when
not personally, don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
Keep it in game.
Don't take it serious.
Yeah.
Like, it's in game. All of it's in game. It's the one quote that I saw. It was a Formula 1 quote. I think someone asked Hamilton it. He roasted Max on the team com radio, and then Vettel stood and was like, what do you think would have happened if every football player had a mic strapped to their shirt and they could hear the actual comms? They don't mean half the stuff that they say, or even if they do, it's not that serious. It's just in the moment, you're playing a tournament, and even if you create rivalries, you keep that as rivalry. When it comes to international exposure and community exposure, you support no matter what. I don't care if you hate the person. I'll go box Dylan tomorrow. I hate him. If he's playing on that main stage in the US, I'll be in that stream supporting him.
It's even like to a smaller scale. Like, Raz and I can have a fight in game. We say we're teaming, and like I told Raz his ass, like, it's just the way it is. If Raz is gonna stream, then like, let's say I get knocked out, or Raz is streaming scrims or 2K, I'm still gonna open his stream up. Maybe I don't want to watch it. Just leave a tab open. You don't have to sit there and watch it. Just leave a tab open, support it, because Raz getting those extra few viewers, it goes a long way to like companies, organizations and stuff like that. And they're like, wow, like, this guy gets good support. And then they maybe look more into the community, and then they're like, wow, like our viewership in games, I remember since Modern Warfare, we get great viewership in our tournament games. Like, multiple times we've passed 220, 230 viewers, where other esports in South Africa that are considered way better than COD in terms of viewership get less than us in a lot of situations. And I've been keeping track of that. People downplay our scene, and it's like it's their fault. People downplay our scene because if they go look at our stuff, like someone will stream or a tournament game, they will think, oh no, it's not that worth it because they don't have good support. It's just because we can't choose specific moments when to support, and we're not.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a big thing.
Like people, when we went overseas, like a lot of people that like wouldn't even watch Rob's streams or something, for instance, were like supporting, which is good. That's what we're supposed to do.
Keep up the
But
same
also
energy
keep
always.
it locally. Like even if we like, you know, like another organization is like I'm very very big on supporting. I will watch everyone when they stream. That's why I said when we were overseas, I kept up with all the streams. That's how I knew what was going on. Even if it's people that I don't necessarily favor or something like that, I'm still going to open the stream and see what's going on, because you know, the support's a support, doesn't matter. And we can't be very selfish on a community and think like, oh, I'm not going to support him because I don't want him to grow. Like at the end of the day, it benefits everyone if we grow, not
It's
one
like
person.
if people don't watch Man, Ollie, or Rahil stream, it's you got to keep the same energy, because that's basically, unless we're getting sent over to an international event, that's the only way we're going to get exposure.
Yeah.
So many people, EU people, NA people, just hop in your stream and they see you good, and then that doesn't even matter. They won't be able to do anything. That thought is they're good. They can maybe compete one day, and that's the thing, is we got to keep the same energy, not only when we're overseas but when we're locally as well. I can guarantee you, casual streams, especially now that a lot of people are back in the community, which I'm grateful for. There's a lot of new teams. A lot of people are going to be competing again. There's a lot of new players every year in general. We do as much as we can to promote our streams and then some other streams that we see. Obviously, we don't know it when everyone's streaming. But when we can just constantly stream and get those viewers that, like 60, 70 viewers, that someone internationally will actually click on the... Because that's what I noticed with international people. They will click on it when they see a decent amount of viewers. Even though if you're good or not, but it's that opportunity to make them see. And as a community, we've seen it in the Fortnite scene. I know in COD, it used to be so massive in COD. We have the amount of support to be able to YouTube content, to put those views up for stream. I know that we can pull some... we can get some people partnered in South African Call of Duty scene when it comes to Twitch. We just need to go as a community and put it together and make sure we're supporting the people when we need to support, because that goes a long way. That's not, you're just not making someone partnered or getting them 80 average viewers on Twitch. That's putting the community up to make us recognizable and serious. People take us seriously so we can eventually get to that stage like APAC. I'm really good friends with Cruz, Rory, who's probably one of, if not the best player from EU AMS last season, NA AMS last season. His community and his support he gets on his streams from APAC, which is, it's bigger than our community, but it's not crazy bigger. It's just because they support one another, and that's basically what we need.
It's the same
to
with
do.
the Japanese. The
Yeah, the
Japanese scene.
Japanese
They are so
scene is
supportive of each
crazy.
other. Like I understand they don't really speak English in their streams, and obviously they cater to Japanese spoken people. It doesn't matter. Like no matter who you click on, I can't remember the names. It was the Rush guys. I would always watch their streams. There's just support. Everyone's supporting them, and that also grows the community, because if you like supporting the streams, it might get recommended by somebody, and then that brings new players into the scene, that grows the scene. I think the past year, like our scene has grown a lot more than what it was. I think we had a bit of a drought when COVID hit, which is explainable, but from Black Ops 4 we had a bit of like an off year and a half, and now I see we're growing again. Now we just need to keep that momentum going.
It's more important is people take us seriously when our numbers are up, because that's what appeals to everyone. So when our numbers are up, that's it. But I think let's finish on that, and then just want to touch on
regarding my streams. I know a lot of people want me to stream.
I agree.
Obviously.
I want you. I've been since IW. I've been wanting you to stream.
Vanguard, you definitely got to be seeing a lot of my streams, like streams being up recently. Obviously, keep an eye on my socials. I'll obviously tweet out when I'm going live, when I'm live.
And GigaHub also do that for all of us. So
yes.
make sure to follow GigaHub as well, because they obviously support our streams a lot. And then it's nice having a little father to watch over you with the streams. But please, Raz, I've been wanting those streams from you.
I know people want a hand cam.
That's one thing I was actually recommended as well, because now that I have the two cams, the hand cam, I would love to see a hand cam from you, because the stuff that you do with your claw position is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, working on getting a camera, webcam, like face cam. Obviously, for some games, we'll probably like switch it to a hand cam for now and then. Regarding YouTube content, maybe I'll do like some class setups, some nuke videos. But most of the time, it's gonna be streaming. Maybe even like some scrim games if I do well. I do well.
Yeah, I think that's something our whole team must do. Is that's why I also point not take too seriously for uploading scrims, just to get some content out there. I'm sure a lot of people would like to learn who don't know too much about international play and know only about us. To put the scrims out there, show them specific ways, because we take everything from international players and people. We only watch that. So I think that'll be a really good idea that you just mentioned now, to put scrims in there as well.
And I think now to go what a lot of people have been waiting for, the top 30.
It's hidden now. I think maybe you boys want to put some social tweets out there, because there's one thing I want to touch on is the Vanguard season now starting. Obviously, a lot of people want to know what's happening with us, what's happening with the COD boys. So for now, I'm not gonna disclose too much. All I'm gonna say is that we are going to be back as four. Myself, Rahil, Levcitys, and Lithium. We're gonna start as a four into the South African scene. We're gonna start off by competing. I'm glad to be back and share a few things that I learned from the EU. A lot of people are gonna play against me now. Hopefully, they can see some change in my gameplay. Hopefully, I prioritize that a lot. But for now, that's all I'm going to touch on. We're going to start off the season back in South Africa, and then when we discuss it more and further it more, then we'll see what the boys want. Obviously, everyone knows our dreams to be internationally present. That will obviously always come. That's what we always keep striving for. But for now, we'll keep it under wraps. Just worry about us in scrims and tournaments because the GigaHub boys are back. But now, that is it.
That's for like the main podcast. Now we got a little section we wanted to do, just make it a bit interesting. We got the idea from a lot of the NA or players. You know, the Zoomer. He's done the top 30 with Ben, and we thought maybe it'd be a bit interesting for content to maybe just do a South African one. And people must remember this is opinion based. It's not like it is facts. And we did this list maybe about a couple of days ago, and we had other people give their opinions. It's not like this is just a GigaHub kind of list, and we try to be as like very fair with tournament wins, with skill, with current, with error, and I think the one thing that that people must just remember, it's opinion based. You know, like not everything is exactly a lot of opinion getting influenced. We try to be very neutral, but like everyone has to agree that certain player deserves this spot for. We know we'll explain the reasons when we get there.
Just touching on the criteria, basically like how Zuma had in his flank, it's like Ollie said, it's opinion based. Obviously, Dylan was supposed to be here and give us some insight about that as well because he's played the longest. But since he's not here, we've played Call of Duty throughout the years. I've been playing since 2012. We've been playing since like 2015, 16. We have gathered all the information up. We taking in consideration not only just skill, natural gun skill.
Wins.
Going everything back from Black Ops 2. We're starting from Black Ops 2, nothing before.
Yeah.
It's championship wins, the normal wins, normal skill as a player and as a teammate, then lands, and then like major lands, and then what's consistency, and then what's being put over everything else is international recognition. So that's why people might be higher than, because it's how they were at their prime, how dominant they were during their prime and their team's prime, how many chips did they win, and how much international exposure they've gotten. Because obviously in South Africa, that is valued more than everything else because we always strive to be internationally recognized, and the amount of things you learn and the skill you possess from international experience, I personally would put that over any local wins or land wins. Okay, so now to start, I'm just going over to the list quickly. We have it written down on our phones.
Had to take a photo of it last second.
Okay, now the moment you've all been waiting for. Tier list, CODZA, top 30 players of all time in South Africa, starting from Black Ops 2 all the way to the current day. Everything we just mentioned is the criteria to be added to this list. Number 30, which we're starting with, is going to be... Oliver, do you want to say it?
It's going to be Spyro. I don't think a lot of you guys right now, unless you've been competing for a while, will recognize the name. Teammates with Rob in XF. He competed in, I think, his most notable season was Advanced Warfare.
He was really... You didn't play against him. You didn't play
against him. I have no idea.
Spyro was cracked at Advanced Warfare. I think he's decently like highish but lowish on the list is because I didn't win anything in the AWC season when I played with him, but he was placing with me in that XF team second every LAN event. The only people that were able to beat us was that Astra team with Lithium, Inferno, Viper, and Cerberus. So that's why we put him there. He was one of the best players in AW. His movement, he was a really good teammate as well. Obviously, he doesn't play now anymore. But I feel like he's a decent person to put at 30. It's that level-setting person, which he didn't win lands, but he was constantly second. He was a good teammate, and the skill he possessed in, I think, the 3 years he played is enough to put him in there.
And I think if anyone in chat right now, like, if you see a name and you're wondering, like, why they're there or something, just
Ask.
Pop a question.
We'll-
We'll answer. We'll give you our full explanation. If
I'm
you
sure.
guys-
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be upset with this list. Like again,
Yeah.
we say it's our list, but if you want us to explain, like we said, we didn't just randomly put this list. We actually went through it and we have.
Yeah, we spent
reasoning.
I'm not gonna lie, we spent a couple hours doing this, and we try to be as like reasonable as possible, fair as possible. You know, not just it's like a whole picture. So if you're like, if there's any kind of question why someone you think should be there, or why don't you think they should be higher, like we'll give our reasoning if we didn't answer it in the beginning.
Yeah. So started off with Spyro. I feel like it's a good starting point. And now for number 29, it's going to be.
It's gonna be Phenom,
You
Aiden
had a top.
Aiden Bit.
I'll type it
Also,
down.
ex-former teammate of Rob in XF. He competed in Ghost. I think Ghost was more of his noticeable seasons. But yeah, Rob, you played more against him in that area. You can explain why you're reasoning here.
Aiden's still one of my favorite teammates to actually play. Like, I enjoyed playing with him so much. He was probably one of the best teammates, most mature teammates I played with. And again, he's sort of on the same level as Spyro. I think he actually might have won a LAN back in the day, but I think it was minor LAN, so we didn't really count that. But again, constantly placing second throughout the seasons. He was prominent from Black Ops 2 all the way up until, was it AW? And
Yeah.
then started Black Ops
That's
3.
when he like kind
Yeah.
of started to stop competing.
So
yeah.
a lot of these players you'll see are all the older players. I think he did win a few LANs, but not anything major to put him higher up. He was a really good OBJ player, so that's why you wouldn't see him with the slaying side. But one of the best teammates to have, and then he was also part of that time where it was just constant seconds, losing to that Astra team of obviously Lithium at the time. But
So consistently a top player, maybe didn't get all the wins that he wanted, but he was still consistently, you know, putting up results, top 3, top 2 finishes at LANs, at online in online tournaments. So it's definitely like a consistent player that we think should be there.
definitely someone I didn't want to stray away from in the top 30 list, because I think he deserves to be there. He was a really well-known name in the community. And I think he deserves to be there, like you said, in my opinion. But if you guys got to play against him, play with him, you'd see how consistent Aiden was at game. And he was probably one of the best teammates to have. I'm pretty sure even if you didn't team with him, you could see that back in the day during the Ghost and those kind of seasons. So now,
We're into number 28.
number 28 is...
Right, who's number 28?
I know Caden's probably going to hate us for this, but like I
Caden.
said, we'll give you
I'm
reason
sorry.
behind this. Caden Heroes number 28. Obviously, still playing to this day. Caden has been at the top for quite a while now, consistently making the top 4. Obviously, quite new.
The passion is there, I see it.
quite new to the scene. But like I said, Caden still hasn't won a chip,
Oh.
which is another reason why he is a little bit further down where people would expect him. But nonetheless, Caden has always been at the top when it comes to when did you
Caden made
start?
his like come up basically
2017,
towards of
wasn't it?
end of IW, start of
Yeah.
World War II. You picked him up in World War II. So that's where Caden kind of like cemented himself as like in the top teams. And throughout the years, I mean, I don't think Caden's won a major. I think it's just a few online
Just say
tournaments.
online majors, Caden. Do you want me to come over
Online
to your house?
majors.
So it's like a few online tournaments Caden's won.
That's,
But
you see, that's also
Yeah.
another thing, Caden. I think the thing you won is he's talking about
Medal State.
Medal State with our energy team in was World War
World War
II.
II.
So it's still online. So that's why we didn't put it ahead of anyone that has actually won a chip. And then also we're just talking about natural skill. You've always been a top player, but never like the standout like the Frosties of the community or the Rahils of the community. You've
played-
been that consistent player, fourth that everyone needs. So that's why it's a little bit.
Yeah, for the past couple of years, Caden's been at the top. Like he's always been like, you know, top 3 finishes, top 2 finishes, throughout the end of World War II, going into Black Ops 4, and then also Modern Warfare. It's like consistently playing at the top. And there's a lot of names also, like I'm gonna say, that didn't make the list that also even won some tournaments. So
But we're just talking about straight consistency and how skillful they were, because if they've won one chip here and there, but they weren't that great on the team, that's why they haven't made the list. And then, Dalry, if I had to go off minor lands, and Olive would be the number 1 player in South Africa, so I'm not even budging an eye to minor lands.
yeah,
But
my
yeah,
lads are-
I feel like with Caden, I feel we put it pretty decent. I mean, he's been a
Number
top
1.
player. He hasn't... A lot of these players that you'll see, Caden as well, is they're old players that don't play to this day that have won a lot. That's why they're like higher up on the list. That probably you might not think that they're better than you, but like we said, we went to, at the time, how dominant they were. And we're not putting into consideration that back then the competition was less than now. It's all relative to the year that you played. Like, if I'm here and I'm playing against Morgan, and he's my toughest competition, it doesn't mean I'm playing to Rahil the next year. That's more difficult. Morgan was my hard counter that year, so we're counting it that year.
Yeah.
I feel like that's...
The thing about Kaden, I think that it's just like a consistency issue, right? Like, he has the potential to be like do really good in a series, but then he also has that like where he just struggles to find the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
but
28, it's like.
But that's why I feel like we're putting him fair 28 because he's always been at the top no matter what. No matter what team he gets into, he's always top 4. Yeah, that's such good consistency. The only reason he's not higher is his chips and his, like you said, the ability to be that superstar at certain times. But I feel like that's a decent thing. And now we're heading over to number 27, which is
to be Zach. Another one of Rob. This is all Rob's old teammates. I mean, you've teamed with all these guys.
I've teamed with everyone in the community.
Well, that's true. But this is Zach, more notably from XF. Again, that was a team with Phenom, Rob, Spyro, and Zach.
So basically, all the 4 on the list right now, all my 4 prior teammates.
But Zach was, I think, also another season was noticeable. Is goes to Advanced Warfare, a consistently top player. You know, at LANs, finishing top 3, top 2 at multiple LANs, online tournament wins. Zach was a consistent player, liked by a lot of people as well. Being a good teammate.
The thing what I differentiate now with Zach and Kaden is Zach actually won LANs, but the thing is, Zach only I think had like 1, maybe 2 standout seasons where Kaden's been more consistent. So that's why maybe just putting him over him a little bit more there when it comes to he's won a LAN. We've prioritized LAN wins a lot because there's not much to go off in South Africa. So getting that 1 chip win, but I think he has multiple, and obviously those constant second places on the XF team puts him high up here. Nothing a lot to say about Zach. Probably one of the nicest guys in the community. If you knew Zach back in the day, he was the friendliest guy ever, one of my favorite teammates of all time. He always put you in a good mood. As a teammate, he was always open to criticism. He was really good, I think, during the Ghost and AW stage. Same as Aiden. I'd say he's over Aiden Phenom because he was much better than Aiden during the AW season. And just all-around good teammate. I don't think you guys have much to touch on him because...
I mean, in 2017, I knew him like a little bit. Like, we went out like at EGE.
Yeah.
Really nice guy. I mean, decent player as well.
He was good. I feel like you didn't experience him in his prime. That's why you were like decent because he did fall off a bit. But
yeah, he did come back with energy for that
like
Infinite Warfare.
Yeah,
I remember I did make a little bit of a comeback.
Okay, that's enough. And then, so now basically we are starting to head into the people that have chips, but also the people that are skilled enough that they can be higher than people who have chips. So with number 26, we're going to be heading towards, I do believe it is Rocky. Obviously, Rocky, a really well-known name in South Africa. He's infamous for the video for Africa for COD Champs that he made in his backyard, acting like it's a jungle. Obviously, Rocky, he was part during that Neuro team back in Ghosts. He was one of the really, really well-known, really talented players back during that Black Ops 2 Ghosts AW. He did fall off a little bit. He came back when was it? IW. I remember, this is one thing that I knew about Josh, is when that IW season started, he played the game in that first week more than anyone else, that everyone was scared to play him because how good he was. Obviously, later on, everyone caught up to him. But I remember he was feared for that first week because he literally played so much and he got ahead of the game. But obviously Rocky, his most notable was that Neuro team back in the day.
I don't think Raz and I can add too much. We went
That's
where Dylan was supposed to come in.
Yeah, this is where Dylan was supposed to. Yeah, he was teaming with the Frosty, Quick, who was it? Wasn't Hazard at the time. But that whole Neuro team, that whole, got the newbies over here. That whole Neuro team was literally untouchable during the start and middle of that Ghost season. Obviously, Rocky has a couple of chips under his name. Very infamous also when he was on Vinco. Very prominent name in the South African scene. Obviously doesn't play anymore, but I'd say throwing it back to the oldies, 26 is very fair for him. He's starting to come up with now the players that have the chips. But now heading into 25, and I see Nato in chat, a lot of people are gonna love this one over here. We've got Extas Phobia at number 25.
corporate, huh? First place.
Extasphobia at number 25. Obviously, that Extas team, one of the most well-known teams in South Africa, one of the most hated teams overseas. Obviously, that's what we were laughing at, the Extas team. They got 5 clubs overseas, but you can't deny the fact that they got sent overseas. They got international exposure, and during the Black Ops 2 season, Extas, they were dominant. Obviously, you guys again can't touch too much on it. This is what I needed Dylan to discuss, but Extas were probably, and still probably, one of the most famous teams in
You hear Extas, a
CODZA.
lot of people recognize it, even if you didn't compete back then.
basically, and like that Extas team were very, very good. Obviously, they won multiple chips in the Black Ops 2 season. I can't give you the exact ones because I wasn't competing that high up. That's where I needed Dylan again. But
We did make this list with
yeah.
Dylan, just so he did give us a lot of insight back to these players.
And just heading over then, this is basically a pair 2, so we don't have to discuss too much. Number 24 is Extas Frostbite.
Yeah, so it's basically a pairing. Very similar achievements. They played together, so kind of speaks for itself on that era.
Yeah, so basically, both of them team together basically had these same kind of careers. They won the same tournaments together, being under Extas, heading over to the US when they did compete at Champs. So obviously that wasn't held as hard because it wasn't that much of an experience, but they still did get that experience. And obviously we started from Black Ops 2. They only had one season for this whole list to prove themselves, so we can't put them that much higher. But I remember playing these guys when I used to play League Play, and these guys were insane at the game. So definitely number 25 and 24. And now heading into 23, this is where now the talent that is coming up now that maybe doesn't have a chip or maybe has one chip. And at number 23 is
Clanko.
Oh wow.
More of a recent player. A lot of people will be familiar with Clanko. I think he even competed up into Modern Warfare season. And Clanko has just been a player that like no one can deny, like Clanko's insanely good with his gun skill.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit inconsistent with playing. Like sometimes he would grind, sometimes he would take time off. But no one can like deny Clanko was good, and he, I think for me, his most noticeable like tournament was when they placed second at EGE 2018 with Vinco. Like I'm pretty sure, like I know a lot of players had all had a good tournament, but Clanko, like the plays he was making, that was where he really like solidified himself as a top player. And then even in Modern Warfare, like our last loss was to that INV team with Clanko on it, and it wasn't an easy kill. And like everyone knows, we had a very, very good team in Modern Warfare. So to take us down, those are all good players on that team. So I think throughout the years, Clanko has shown like he can be, if not one of the best players in South Africa.
Maybe the word for it is like he's a wild card. You know?
Yeah, that's
it's
the perfect word,
100%. You get, that's one of the things I noticed about Clanko. It's 100% or 0%. There's so many times where I've spoken to when he was on Bravado. It's just so many inconsistencies. I always just tell Dylan, if he played throughout these years, he would be. I probably would have teamed with him if it was coming up and we needed a player. He would have been on the best team. It's just you don't know what you're going to get out of him. He's either not playing or he doesn't care enough about the game to keep it consistent. And that's why he's probably one of the most skilled, or he hasn't played of recent, so out of these next like 5, he's probably one of the most skilled, but his mindset puts him at the bottom because, like you said, you don't know what you're going to get out of Clanko. Really good player, really, really talented. I wish personally he would have carried on playing and kept it into like a mature mindset. But obviously he's high up. He doesn't have a chip. I don't believe he won a LAN.
No, he's won online.
But he has come second. He's a really good player, and that's why we put him number 23. At number 22, basically his exact brother counterpart, which why he's a little bit above is because of the mindset and like how he approaches the game. But he also has those inconsistencies of playing. But at number 22, we've got Huzaif.
But Huzaif does have a ring, a chip, VS 2019 in Black Ops 4. Huzaif, I teamed with him multiple times throughout my CODZA career. One of the more talented players I've seen and I've teamed with. It's just the same thing with Clanko. It's like sometimes Huzaif would play for months. And then, people don't recognize the name Huzaif. He changed it to Huzaif. It was Zenko. If people maybe don't recognize, but would grind for months, become one of the top players, like how he was in Black Ops 4, and he won a chip. But then they just get there was no consistency throughout seasons. Huzaif would not play for months. So he literally left my team, wants to go play Fortnite. So he switched it up. Like mid-season, I just got a message like I'm gonna try competitive Fortnite. So. That's, I think, where Huzaif's downfall was, the same as Clanko. It's just there was no consistency throughout seasons. But when he showed his peak, he was one of the best players. And at that VS Championship, in the grand final, the best player in that grand final. So I definitely think it's a well-deserved spot. It's just the inconsistencies of, let's say, his career that like it kind of pushed him down a bit.
So basically, now I was mistaken. From now on, everyone I do believe has won a chip. So that's why Huzaiv is at the bottom, just because everyone that's coming up next to him is either more consistent and has been at the top longer than he has, because obviously he's in and out just like Klanko. Maybe a little bit more consistent Klanko, and I do feel like he was slightly better skilled.
Yeah.
But Dalry, like you said in chat, this isn't just skill. If it was just based on skill, trust me, a lot of people in the top 10 would not be in the top 10. But basically, he's just more consistent than Klanko. He actually has a chip, but like I said, the next couple of players are basically, we only put them above Huzaiv because they've either won one more chip or they've been consistent throughout their career, just because Klanko and Huzaiv's downfall have literally been their consistency. They're such talented players, they just haven't been prominent in the scene. And that leads us over to number 21, which is going to be his teammate and chip winner for that Black Ops 4 season, and it's going to be Sharpie.
Keegan Sharpie.
These next players are going to be very similar. They won that one chip. They've been top players throughout. Remember, Keegan, which was the game that Keegan was World War II, where everyone was like, Keegan is nasty. Infinite Warfare, where Sharpie was like at the top. Keegan was really, really good. Very skilled player. He has that one chip under his name. Very talented. And you can put them in the group next to all of these guys. Obviously, I've played against Keegan for very long. Was he playing the end of last season?
Modern Warfare.
Yeah. Which is the season that he took the time off?
Cold War, pretty sure.
Cold War.
He did play Modern Warfare.
He did play Modern Warfare.
Yeah, so Cold War, obviously, he wasn't around that much, but I think it was...
I think his two seasons were...
IW and Black Ops 4.
IW, World War II, I think was a bit like, maybe not the greatest, but his notable seasons were like Black Ops 4 and IW, where like consistent top player, won a chip in Black Ops 4. That WOJ team at the time was a consistent team throughout the entire year. So there's been like peaks and maybe not such high peaks, but because there's been consistency and he's won a major, so that definitely puts him there in the 21st.
And then, like I said, these next two players are very similar. I just feel like they've been more dominant in their teams that they were on for a longer period of time. And I think they might have one more chip or the same, but like I said, I don't feel like the Sharpie and the next two players are that different in skill, but at the time I feel like the teams that they were on were more dominant, and that's leading to number 20 being Waffle. Obviously, Waffle being on that energy team with me. On RW, we obviously got that first, it was VS with him.
No, that
Black
was
Ops 3.
Black Ops 3.
Yeah, so obviously Waffle then being around a lot longer, won that Black Ops 3 chip with him, and heading into the rest of the seasons, he was really good, probably placing first or second or maybe third, but I think second was prominently his best placement.
He's been on top teams. I mean, if you think from he won with Rob in Black Ops 3, then going into IW, he was on that crypto team, I'm pretty sure. They had a lot of top 3 finishes, and then going into World War II, it's a lot of consistency from Waffle, even up until the last season, which was Modern Warfare, being on the team with Klanko, the team that took us down in that tournament. Waffle's always been a top AR. Yeah, Black Ops 4 was one of his better seasons as an AR. I played against him. We played each other at VS. It's definitely like a very consistent AR role. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's got a chip to him. Just a consistent player over the years, and always.
He was one thing we can notice. He's a very good hype man as well.
Yeah, he's a good teammate.
He was very good when it came.
I know people had like a lot of disagreements with like how he was, but you know, in the right mindset and stuff, I think he was a good teammate.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he was consistent.
I was contemplating taking him out of this list with the little shenanigan he pulled against Laura Rutti in the 1v1 round 11 on Gridlock. I was going to take him off this list after that. I've never seen a bigger joke in my life.
Don't mention that, Caden's here.
But obviously that's the only downfall I can give him. He was a consistent top AR throughout the years. So if he didn't do that, I probably would have put him higher, but he made the list because people like him and people think he's good, but that was...
I mean, he's always been like a top 4, top 5 AR every single season, right?
I teamed with him long, he was really good, but that play I always laughed
that is
I've never seen a bigger choke in my life. But anyway, basically, like I said, the same players are evening out now, and this is basically the last maybe one chip, but this is probably the player that I think is the most skilled, that was consistent, and he won a chip, right? I'm pretty sure he won a chip with me. I can't remember.
I can't remember the place. Let me check.
But this was probably one of my most cracked teammates that I've had. He's won chips before. probably the most talented out of the bunch I've just mentioned, and that's going to be Sharky, Jamie. Okay, nothing more capital.
Yeah, Jamie Sharkey. Also, previous teammates with Sharpie and Waffle in Infinite Warfare, in Black Ops 4 with Energy. At the time, in the start of that Black Ops 4 season, when it was like the double stock meta, I'm pretty sure Sharky was the best submachine gun in the game at the time. He was really, really good. Consistent over the years, very, very high ceiling of skill, but he didn't really compete that long. It was about 2-3 seasons, and then he kind of like, went his other ways in life.
I think his most notable season was that Black Ops 4 season. He was insane on the Sorg on that game.
Even IW, he was really good in IW.
I definitely put Jamie up here. He's one of the biggest talents that South Africa's seen. Shame that he didn't carry on competing. Obviously, he was underage for a lot of the stuff as well, but winning that RW tournament with him was really good. He was always a really good teammate to have when it comes to skill-wise. Maybe a little bit immature when it comes to mindset-wise, but a lot of us were back in the day when I actually was teaming with him. Obviously, we were all like under 18. But I'd still hold Jamie to a very high standard. He was a very, very good player. Difficult to play against, I can imagine. I've teamed with him majority of his South African Bryce Hall. Basically now. Like, we literally created our minor LAN team name, myself, Nato, Waffle, and Sharky, based off how shy Jamie used to be when he couldn't shake a girl's hand. So we named ourselves the Handshakers. But he's turned into quite the young lad now. But anyway,
number 18.
Definitely think that's a good place to put him. He's won chips, he's skilled. But now this is where I feel like the top hitters are starting to come in. People who have won multiple lands, have been provisional throughout all the years. People are going to get upset with this one. But I just feel like, before saying this player has won a lot of lands, has been at the top for long. One land. That's also why he's
like a
only
ring,
here.
a ring.
Yes, he's won one ring. Major land.
Yeah, major.
He's only won one major land. But he has been consistent throughout the years. But the thing is, I feel like he sometimes lacks that consistency. But the only reason he's here is because everyone above him has either had great accomplishments and has been as consistent or slightly less consistent, or are much more naturally skilled than him. And at number 18, we do have the one and only Java.
Lee Java Johnson. Former teammate of mine. I think Lee was one of my first teammates in Black Ops 3 when I tried to play competitive. I think it was in Nebula. He's always been one of the good guys in the community. We used to produce a lot of content, did well for the community. He had that big season in Black Ops 4 where he won his ring with Huzaif and Sharpie. I think also in IW, very consistent top player with Ventus at the time, I'm pretty sure it was. I think took Rob to a grand final, or you reverse swept him in a winner final, if I'm correct. But always a top 3 player, throughout the years. I think Lee's like Kruger. I think he maybe ended a bit short, which maybe what hurt it a bit. But throughout the three seasons that he was at the top, he was a consistent player. Again, won the ring, won the chip with WLG in 2019. But there's not really, it's just like more of a round player, It's not just a slayer, not just a OBJ. It's, like he'll fill in the gaps, more of a consistent team player. And I think, that's why it's...
Yes, Dylan, you come through and speak your mind still. We were still expecting you. I don't know why you're saying you're supposed to be coming. But yeah, I feel like with Lee again, he has that one chip VS. He's really good player, been consistent, but like I said, I feel like this is sort of the right place to put him. I would probably put him over some people we have higher on the list, but the only reason, Lee, that you're not is because the pure amount of times that people have won on this list is much greater than you. So even though you're consistent throughout the years and you only have one chip, these guys might have not been as good as you, and I don't think they are as good as you. But how dominant their team was during that period of time, they obviously have to be above you. You'll notice, and I think you'll think it's fair, the people we put above you. But I feel like he was also like basically the winning version of Caden, where he's always at the top. But now Lee has that IGL experience that he actually gives his team. He's a better teammate, and the fact that he's won that chip, I feel like that puts him.
I was about to say, I was like, I need to see like the rest of the players, because I would have had it a little bit higher up.
I see Lee saying I need to come back and fix that rating. I said, Lee, like, you could have competed longer. I think you put it up. I don't know, maybe you had some personal or school or something, but I definitely don't think you were any means bad to stop competing. You passed it. Like, I actually thought you were actually going to come back last season in the Cold War season, but I felt it.
This is someone that's, in hindsight, Lee, I would put you over. Ben, this is like a purest example of the amount of times and the vast amount of times that they've won in their career and been at the top compared to you. And that leads us to number 17, which is going to be Viper. Obviously, Viper, Hamid, Dylan could have spoke to you much more than I can on him, but Hamid won a lot during that those Astra years, all the way from Black Ops 2 to AW. He's one of the most accomplished players when it comes to LAN wins. Hamid has obviously been not the superstar in any of those Astra teams or teams with Dylan, but he's always been that consistent player, bringing useful knowledge and skill to a team. But like I said, he's won countless LANs. You can't put that past anyone.
Thing, you can't say to win a tournament, all 4 players need to be good.
Yeah.
You can't have a bad player and win a tournament. So to say that like maybe Viper wasn't as skilled as some of his teammates like Lithium, everyone has a role. So he was very dominant throughout that Astra period, where that Astra team with the Inferno, Lithium, Cerberus, all those kind of teammates, they won everything. Like at that stage, they were like the dynasty team of South Africa. So maybe his career wasn't as long or as consistent, but when he was dominant, his team was dominant, and you can't take that away.
The amount of chips, because he was a good player, especially during his prime, but the amount of chips that Hamid won puts him much higher than what you would think of someone just with 1 chip. So I feel like he's one of those players. I think there's like 2 or 3 more in this list that are literally so high because they have so many wins. Their achievements are crazy. So you got to give it to Hamid, Viper, that Astra period where they were literally unstoppable, undefeated, obviously playing with Dylan. I feel like that's a really good place to put him. And now I feel like we are heading into more of the top hitters, the guys that you look at and you're like, these guys are crazy. These guys could have been top players or are top players or currently are top players, or that they've also won so much and impacted their team. And that's why we lead to number 16, which is going to be our old teammate, lovely chap to team with, Mr. Jim himself now,
Kohvz. Carl made his come up, I think it was Infinite Warfare, and he had a pretty consistent team. I think it was with High Five at the time. Then going into World War II, he got on that Venko team where Carl and Clanko were like the 2 slayers of the team. Second at EGE, putting out, like I remember even on like Arden's Forest, like dropping insane amount of kills. Then going into Black Ops 4, that's where he won his ring, the South African version of the ring. He won champs in Black Ops 4 with Java, Sharpie and the WRG team. And he's been consistent those 2 years as a top player. And then going into the Modern Warfare season, we obviously picked him up, and he has a lot of, online tournaments aren't as credible as LANs, but we won almost every single tournament that year, high price pool tournaments, and he was a top player throughout that entire season. So 3 seasons in a row where he's also got himself a chip and multiple online wins. Very skillful player. I think it's like a very balanced place to put Carl.
Yeah, Carl, he's won a few chips here and there, most notably online. That's the reason also why he's not higher. But the thing is, he's so high because he's so naturally skilled as well. That's the thing with Carl. The only thing I'd say is he has superstar potential. There's so many games where I played with him where he's doing better than me. He's doing superstar level. But there's also some games where he has some consistency where he does maybe do a little bit less or his comms aren't too great. But I don't think that affects it too much. Like I said, he's probably one of the highest players when it just comes to skill and putting him higher skill. And everyone above him has like a lot more accomplishments and
I liked about Carl is that, like, let's say even if he was getting shit on like in a match, he didn't used to like bring the team.
He was a good. Carl was a good teammate.
He was a very good teammate where he didn't complain. I don't think I've heard Carl complain. Maybe if he couldn't go to a duel after the scrim, but he was a really good teammate, very skilled. Would have liked to see him play this season.
Carl also I think cut it a bit short.
I feel like he would have been good this season, but obviously
the same thing with Lee and Carl, like they could have carried on going longer because they're still young as well.
Okay, and then number 15. Then, like we said, remember we're ranking this according. Certain things are ranked much higher than others, but Carl I think possesses every single one. So we put him even. Carl would have been probably my top 8 if we ended up taking him to London.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, there was a period where Jordan wasn't with us and we were supposed to pick up Hypes. And then WRG didn't let him out of his contract. Which, Carl, if you're watching this, I still apologize to you that they didn't do that. You could have been playing at London. Carl would have easily been probably top 8 for me if he went to London. But like I said, that's not the case. But that brings us to number 15. The man himself, Mr. Levcitys.
It's okay.
Do you want me to chat about this for you?
I mean, if you're asking for my opinion, so with the list, no one, like, I couldn't give myself where I think I should be. I think there was about 5, 6, 7 of us that agreed to it. I think it's a fair place. Like, listen, I don't have any major LAN wins, which is like my biggest flaw. I've been a part of the most dominant team the past 2 seasons, but these 2 seasons have been under COVID, so there was no LANs for me to prove that. I think I've been a top AR for the past couple of years. I think, in my opinion, I'd be high on the list if there was more major tournaments. But that is like, you can't discredit other people that have won majors. Times no one predicted this, so I think for midfield pack of the top 30, I'm fine with it. It's.
Okay, wait, no. No disrespect here. So let me explain. Lee, you haven't been playing. Did Lee play Modern Warfare?
Yes. He came back for a little bit and then left.
So basically, Ollie was the best AR in South African Modern Warfare, even when you were back or not. And in Cold War, Ollie made a really quick come up after being horrible at Black Ops 3, heading into.
I didn't play RW.
He didn't play RW. So World War 2, he made his name so quickly in RW. Lee, I think, personally, like I said, I think Ollie was a better AR than you in Black Ops 4. I feel like he was more impactful. You were probably a better RGL because you weren't on RGL there. But from Black Ops 4 until now, I think Ollie's been the best AR in South Africa. Okay, the second best. In Black Ops 4, I put Alton maybe above you.
Yeah, Alton.
So I forgot about Alton. But I'd say he's probably been the most young, upcoming AR since for those 3 years. And you've even though majority of the ARs you say on this list of people have only won one more chip than you, you've competed overseas at the highest level and done extremely well. And like I said in the beginning of this, international recognition is going to play a big factor in this, because I hold that, like I said, it's our opinion, hold that much greater than any accomplishment made in South Africa.
Yeah, like to these points, if anything, like you have a major championship win where I don't, but that's the only LAN win you've got. And then with online tournaments for the past 3 years, we've won every single thing online, where like your online tournaments were more like second places. So that I think that's where we're fairly even in that point. But then like I also do hold online recognition to a high level, and the way I played overseas in EU, I think I played really, really well. So I think that's where that that point comes in. Like I've been a consistent.
And it's also not fair to say, because I think regardless of online or online, our team for the past 2 years would have been the most dominant team.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Ollie's been winning everything.
Like if we didn't have COVID, it would have been back-to-back 2 rings. And I'm sorry that sounds cocky to anyone, but our team has been so good.
Even not, what Caden is comparing it to Lee is Lee played during the LAN events when there was no COVID and still wasn't winning.
Yeah.
So you can compare Ollie being dominant throughout the online and Lee not winning and only winning one chip. Like, do you see where it comes?
It's like I think we balance out quite well. I think.
The thing that I'd say they're pretty even, especially with the accomplishments with Ollie, has something that Lee doesn't have, and that's international exposure.
Yeah.
You can't put anything above that.
I think
he's played against the best. He's got recognition from the best. It doesn't really matter what you've played with here.
Yeah.
Done with that?
Yeah.
Is that, really want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, Ollie's been a top AR for like 2 years now, so.
And
it's 15,
top AR and most dominant AR in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
So you can't really say, Lee, that you didn't play, because that has nothing to do with us, because you weren't here. He was still most dominant.
Yeah.
Like I said, Lee, no disrespect, it's our opinion. That's why I put high. I'm putting him 15th because of his international exposure and how dominant he was the past 2 years. But let's stray away from that. Number 14, my king, my brother, dear to my heart, Mr. Da Silva Renato.
Oh.
This is my brother right here. I love him. Mad Cup winner 2016, Renato Da Silva. Obviously, he's been around for forever. He stopped competing just after World War II.
No, he played we won Black Ops 4.
Oh yeah, Black Ops 4.
Black Ops 4.
He stopped competing after
Yeah.
Black Ops 4. Obviously, Mad Cup winner, Nato. The thing is, Nato's been around for so long. He's competed at the highest level for so long. Maybe a bit inconsistent with his placing throughout the years, but the reason why he's so high is because he is that Mad Cup winner. I understand you have to play against Morgan Era and Eros against the finals, so I put you a little bit down for that. But like I said, no, I'm joking. He is the Mad Cup winner. Maybe been a little bit inconsistent when it comes to placing throughout the years, but nonetheless been a top player throughout the years. He's been so consistent with what he does in his role. and how good he is at doing it. But like I said, it's the chips don't really coordinate with the top players, like compared to like the top 10. You haven't won as much as the top 10, but that Mag Cup, it was the biggest event South Africa's ever had, and you won it. So with how good you were throughout the years, how good you were in that Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4 season, I think 14 maybe. Like I said, there's some people on this list that I'm only putting higher because of their achievements. I would have you above them, but I feel like 14 would be a really good placement for you, especially since you've won the most, the biggest tournament in South Africa. And obviously, I love you so much. If it was my choice, you'd be number
And Nollo was known for his sniper. Like, throughout the end of his...
Sunday sniper. And an SND. Holy shit.
And then, number 13, a fan favorite. I love this kid with all my heart. He doesn't play anymore. One of my favorite teammates, if not my favorite teammate in South Africa. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. Did all the dirty work. Got slept on for so long, but brought it up when he sparked. And the amount of chips that he won is going to be Vian.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't think... I think Vian kind of exited the CODZA scene when Raz and I made a come up. But he was a part of the Dynasty team as Energy Esports in the Infinite Warfare season. So a lot of chips under his name, a lot of online LAN wins, and a very, very team-based player. You know, no matter what's going on the map, like if you need someone to do the dirty work, Vian's the person that will do the dirty work. He doesn't care about his KD. He doesn't care about... He cares about winning and very passionate about winning. So that's why he was a good overall teammate, very skillful player. And to add, I mean, he's got a lot of wins under his belt, so can't discredit that.
Vian, he was a good teammate to have. Like,
must have been, I mean, sitting in the hill time.
yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying. He did all the dirty work, but the thing is, he was underlooked because he had all the objective, but he maybe sometimes didn't do that well. But there were so many times I can remember, especially on LAN, when Vian popped off.
Yeah, he did.
Against you guys at AfriHost
Afri
on
Esports,
London Docks, when he had the flamethrower, everything.
Goodness.
And that was the turning point in the series where we just like rolled you guys after that, and it was because of Vian. He holds like such a core element in a team that it doesn't matter if he's not getting 40, 50 kills every game.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's like the Slack of the South African scene. People hold Jerry very high up. Sometimes he might not do that well, but he can do that well, and he does all the dirty work that's slept on by everyone else. Yeah. And that doesn't help. It also helps that Vian has so many LAN wins at his belt when playing with that very... Was it Energy and... Was he XF? Ventus.
Ventus,
Ventus, and then the Energy team we were like the most dominant. So Vian, I feel like that's a good place to put him. He's won a lot. He was maybe not the superstar, but he was a good teammate and did a lot for the team. And then heading into... This is basically ties hand in hand with my opinion. Maybe he's only above Vian because I think he was a little bit more skilled than Vian. But same accomplishment, same everything. At number 12, we've got Mickey.
Yeah, Mickey is obviously a lot of people, especially people in the chat, are going to know who Mickey is. Mickey's been competing up until recently. I don't think Mickey played in the Cold War season, eh? No. Yeah, but he did play in Modern Warfare, like his latest season. Where he was in the grand finals with that Phoenix team against us almost every single tournament. Mm-hmm. And then to add, Mickey was a part of that team with the Dynasty team with Rob, Vian and Frosty. So he's got LAN wins, he's got online tournament wins, been a skillful player since more or less he started with Vinco. So I think it's a very decent spot. I think him and Vian bounce well off each other with their placings here.
I just feel like Mickey, I think, has accomplished a little bit more the same as Vian, but like you said, Mickey he could be that superstar at times. He was a very good teammate. I feel like
in Infinite Warfare, he was really good at that game.
He was correct, and that's why I feel like Vian was slightly better teammate, but I would hold Mickey's skill and consistency higher than
and Mickey did play a bit longer and compete at high levels.
So I feel like that's a good placing for them too. Obviously now when we start heading into top 10, with top 11 now, this is where we start heading more of how much they've actually won in their career, how good they were at the time that they won, maybe not afterwards or before, and also international exposure. And this is where I know there might be some controversy, but you cannot discredit how good and dominant each of these players were at their time. And at number 11, we have Drew.
I have no idea what this is.
Really?
Wait, you don't know Drew? Okay, I do know of Drew. I'd never seen him play. I think the only time I ever saw Drew play was in Mag Cup. So I can't give too much on him, but I've known from his accomplishments and his wins that he's one of the top players. From what I heard from Dylan Rob at the time when he competed, he was winning everything. So
all I'm saying is Dylan was supposed to be able to touch on some of these players that are in the top 10 because he knows the specifics that Drew has won, especially during that Go season. Those guys were crazy. I don't think when I started competitive Ghosts, Black Ops 2, I knew about those guys. Was it Fear? That Fear, Drew, and all of those guys. They've won so much throughout the years, and the thing is, you can't discredit them that Drew wasn't bad when he was winning all of that. He was really good.
You can only be compared against the people you competing against.
Yeah.
You know, people have opinions that maybe Drew won't be at the highest level right now with how the scene is now. But that's not his problem. He competed when it was at the highest, and he was the best.
He was insane, like Morgan said in the chat. Obviously, Morgan can tell us more about it. He was insane about that during that Go season.
Yeah.
I have to disagree with you there. When I used to play Drew, he was never the slack of the team. He was really good at the time. He got to team with people like Frosty, who obviously got him those. Frosty was the slayer of the team. So even though Frosty might have been carrying, Drew was still holding his own. He has so many chips under his name.
I'll say it, you can't win with a bad player in your team. Like, everyone is good that's on the winning team. Yeah. You can't, like, to discredit somebody that's winning and be like, oh, he's getting carried. I mean, that's one thing I hear that a lot. I even recently with Rahil last season in Cold War when we were overseas, people are like, oh, Rahil's carrying the team. If you guys say that, if anyone says that, you are bashing yourself more than anyone else, because you are then saying you are that bad that you're letting one guy take over a map. No matter how skillful that one guy is, one person can't win a game or a series or a championship.
And like heading into number 10, these two are basically paired together, same accomplishments, same consistency throughout the years. Obviously, these are older players, so a lot of people might not know what they've achieved, but obviously I've been around for long. Dylan also knows how long they've been around and how much they've actually achieved. I only put him above Drew is because I personally think he was a better teammate, but at number 10 is going to be Hazard's Rory Hazards. Basically, like we said about Drew, same amount of wins, same amount of consistency. I feel like Rory was a much better teammate. I feel like he was more calm. He was able to speak his mind, all of that kind of stuff. But basically, these two speak for themselves, where they were really good at their prime. They won a lot of chips throughout their prime. They might have not have played recently because they were much older. I think they were competing when they were like 22, 23, and that was during like Ghosts. So Hazard's number 10, I think, is fair. I don't think you can touch much on him.
We can't touch
Hazard's during that Fear team, he's well known, probably one of the biggest well-known faces during the years that he competed, won so many chips, and that's why he starts at number 10. And now this is where we start heading to the talent, the chips, the international recognition. At number 9, we have Keaton Cerberus. How do you spell Cerberus?
I didn't even think I spelled it right, but
I'm sorry if that's wrong, but we have Keaton Cerberus. Okay. Dylan, you can touch on this a lot because you teamed with him. Yeah. Dylan was also supposed to touch Keaton. He won so much with that Bravado team with you guys.
Even with Astra.
He was with the Astra team. He's been around for so long, and he's literally only been at the top.
Yeah.
When I was playing against him back in 8W all the way up until like start of BO4.
Yeah, he has always been
he was literally at the top no matter what. He was placing first, second.
Yeah.
How many chips you guys won together? How many chips he won in Astra? That's crazy. The only thing is with Keaton is inconsistency.
Yeah.
When it comes to actual gun skill and gameplay, you could go watch VODs back and everything like that. You can, from his teammates, you'll tell Keaton had the ability to pop off, but he also had the ability to do extremely bad. Yeah. And even playing against him, there's so many times where I played you guys, and the only reason I'd say you lost was because that one player lacking. And it's not like, I'm not trying to bash him, but it's not like lacking here and there. Like, to the point where you're lacking so much that you're costing
like
your
Keaton
team.
would have games where he'd be like frying, and then one games where it's like he can't find a rhythm on the map. And that's like I think it was the only flaw with like his gameplay in a sense.
Yeah. It's just the inconsistency. Yeah. But when I said he's been literally for 6-7 years at the top, he's won so many lands. I'm sure he was a good teammate to play with, your opinion. But I feel like 9, we're heading into now the guys who have won everything, have been at the top consistently. Keaton is definitely one of those you cannot put past any of the accomplishments he's got through Bravado and Astra. Really good player, really solid position for him. And now, number 8, the man,
full streaks,
the myth, the full streaks torpedo. Jordan, obviously he's won a lot. He was with Bravado, he won a lot. He has the international recognition of placing with us internationally. People, when they know Bravado, for international, then no Scorpio. He was part of our team. Jordan has been really good. Again, with Jordan, just a little bit of the inconsistency. I feel like he was a better player than Keaton. That's why I put him over him. And he has the international recognition. Only reason that Keaton is underneath is just I feel like Keaton was a little bit more inconsistent. Jordan, the thing with Keaton is Keaton has been at the top for so long. Jordan's bumped, placing first, second, fourth, sixth.
Yeah, but I think Jordan also could never really get on a established team. Jordan was always on different kind of teams, but Jordan was, even I remember till 2018 EG, that Origin team, like Jordan was insanely good at that. Like Jordan's always been there. Like it's just I don't think the teams have worked out in his favor. Obviously, when he went to Bravado, like things clicked and worked out for him, and he got the recognition he deserved. But I think just throughout, Jordan's just always been like trying to get on one of those established teams, but just never got the chance. But he always performed well when he played.
That's one thing I want to differentiate. The inconsistency. Jordan's inconsistency, for me, is with placings.
Yeah.
Keaton's is with actual skill.
Individual.
And that's why I hold Jordan much higher than him. And then obviously he plays top 32. Full streaks repeated. He got us into that Saturday morning.
Jordan played against the best and showed that he can compete. So that's you have to give credit.
Yeah, and he's been obviously a top 5 era like every title that he's played. Yeah. So.
And then I would personally put Jordan over the next person we're going to discuss because I feel like that international recognition puts it a little bit over. But the next player we're going to discuss, second most winningest player in South Africa and how dominant he was at his prime and how long he stayed at the top. You've got to give him recognition for it. I would put Jordan above him, but if we're considering everything all together and their primes, you'd have to put Mr. Thea Jakes
Papa Jakes
at number 7.
I know some people are going to have some, because like a lot of people will think Jakes would be maybe like top 4 or something like that, but Jakes did win a lot. Rob was a part of those winnings a lot for a couple of years.
Is he the Mad Cup MVP?
No, Mad Cup MVP.
Okay, to be fair, I think that was robbed. I don't think he deserved to be Mad Cup MVP, like I said. But people would hold him to a high standard, but I feel like he's people have accomplished more and how skilled he is today. Lee, I don't know who you would put Jakes higher than because everyone in the top 6, I would say, has probably accomplished the same, if not more, than Jakes, and are much better, much more talented than what he is. Then, if you want to say who'd you put him above, that's remaining, then you can say it in chat. But personally, Jakes, he won a lot, but the thing is, with him, he won so many, and he was good in his prime. I'd say maybe 2 like Kohvz, but a lot of the years after that, he wasn't a really good performing player when it comes to actual individual skill, and that's where I feel like his accomplishments push him over the edge when it comes to that. Second most, he was obviously the most winningest player in South Africa, now second most after Lithium, but you can't discredit what he's achieved, how good he actually was in his prime. But like I said, I feel like towards the later part of his career, he wasn't too great when it comes to skill, and people juiced a little bit too much just because of how much he won prior. So I feel like 7 is the perfect placing, because I would never put anyone that we put above him now, Jakes above them.
I think everyone above now, like, it's clearly that like they deserve to be there, and I don't think like there should be a question on it. Maybe if you want to change 1 or 2 players in this top 6, sure, I think that is, but I think this top 6 should be South Africa's top 6 in my opinion. I don't think you can discredit anyone else.
I'm gonna agree with Morgan on that, saying he didn't actually lead the team. Not personally him. Personally, I'm not talking about him, but South Africans like to juice what someone does for a team more than they actually do, just because of their name. Personally, when I teamed with Jakes, it was majority Carl and myself.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
are being the ones engaging, I gelled everything. He's more of the calm person. So leading a team, I'd say, is a little bit far stretched.
In the jetpacks, like towards Jakes' like end of his career, I mean, he had Frosty and Rob, who were like the two most dominant players throughout the jetpack era. And Jakes even did come back later on after like Rob and Carl were on their separate way, and there was no results. Like he wasn't performing well. And, like, I'm not gonna discredit anything, but he's won a lot. But at the end of the day, it's the same with like Simp and Abizi. How people are like, RCDs is winning, but like they have Simp and Abizi. Like Jakes had Kohvz and Frosty. Like it's like that kind of mindset. It's the same thing.
That's the thing. RCDs in the pros list were still put high up, but you putting your Abizis and your Sims over them.
Yeah,
so
it says it's like that.
And then now where we come to the most controversial between us. This list is how I wanted it to be, but I think Ollie and Dylan, or was it just you? Ollie and Dylan wanted this to change. So at number 6, we have Rahil.
What?
People are going to be surprised at the
All
top.
I'm going to
Don't
say
worry.
is I think from like 7 till 30 you can go anywhere. But in my opinion, this top 6 is South Africa's top 6 of all time. I don't think you can change Rahil to 3 or 4 or 1. Or it doesn't matter on your opinion on that. But this top 6
Yes,
is top 6.
Let me explain it like this. If we were going straight off of skill, Raz would be my number 1. But it's not. And sadly, you came up... For me, why I'm putting the person above you that's next, that Ollie would disagree with, is you came up very later on. And a lot of your accomplishments, even though you did win a lot of LAN, a lot of your star moments were the online era.
Yeah.
And then the reason is, the only reason I'm putting this person above you who's next is at their prime, I think you guys were the same. It's just they have a lot more consistency at the top and chips than you. And I wanted to hold your London placings more higher. But the thing is, this person has been literally, who's above you, the top player throughout all the years, and not more consistent, as consistent as you winning chips.
Okay.
I said to Ollie, if there was a LAN tomorrow and we won it, I would put you above him. Because I physically feel now you are more individually skilled, but throughout his career, he's been more consistent because you came up so early.
Well, speaking of that, Blair, I think we should... we can sport.
Do you want to say anything about that? You disagree?
No, I'll see the next player first.
Yeah, I think we can have a
like
more
I
topic
said,
to speak about.
If LANs were last year, or now LANs are coming and we win, you are going much higher. And now at number 5, and people are going to disagree, and I'll perfectly explain my point, but just for the points previous, I wanted this player above Rahil. Ollie didn't want him
I'll
above
explain my
Rahil.
reasoning now, though.
And at number 5, we have Frosty.
Okay.
So-
Okay, I agree with that.
So this is a hard one because Frosty does have more LAN wins than Raz locally. So they both got a couple LAN wins each. Frosty was dominant in his era throughout his time. Consistency over years, top player. So is Raz. So they're very equal on that. Frosty edges it out. But then Raz has the international exposure where he's competed overseas at a high level, and people were like, "This Rahil guy is insane." So that's why it balances out. In my opinion, they are neck and neck. It's literally then just comes down to opinion. Frosty was dominant throughout the years in his prime. Raz was dominant throughout his years in the prime. They both have LAN wins. Sure, Frosty edges him out on those LAN wins, but then Raz carries the online, the international exposure on him. So that's what I'm saying. That it's neck and neck. It's strictly opinion based. Like, I don't disagree with Frosty being ahead of Raz. It's just, they are literally on the same points in my opinion. Like, they're right there. That's why what Rob said. If there was a LAN tomorrow, a major LAN locally, and Rahil and GigaHub win it, then I think you can put Raz on top because he's competed with LANs prior to COVID. He's dominated the COVID era. He's got international exposure, and after the COVID era, he's got a LAN win. So they're just neck and neck. It's super hard.
Yeah, the chat is going wild now, but I don't understand how you guys can say that when Carl hasn't competed internationally and every single person above him has placed higher at international events, or has literally competed internationally
And one dominant local.
Every player above him, besides me, I think, has more local chips than Kyle.
Yeah.
Has been more
Got international exposure.
played internationally at the highest level, and has been just as good or slightly less good than him while playing in South Africa. So it doesn't matter if he wasn't able to go overseas. That's not our problem. Like, just because Dashy wasn't able to win a chip because he wasn't on the team, you're not going to put Clayster as number 1. It's not his fault, but what must we do with that? So
we'll explain it as it goes out. Maybe like Frosty 5, everyone's like, oh wow.
Like, the thing is, if Frosty, the reason why Frosty is ahead of Rahil is Frosty's won more than Rahil, but Rahil's international exposure. But everyone that's above Frosty besides me is, I think I have like 2 chips less than Carl.
Not even, like, it's like one chip basically.
But everyone above Frosty on this list has the same or more local chips and international exposure. So,
and they've competed for years and years at the
basically top. What you're going off of is just skill, and like I said, this isn't
guys,
just skill.
This isn't just a skill list. Like, if this was a skill list, a lot of the names would be switched around. We can't just go based off skill. Like, Kyle's, if not one of the most talented players like South Africa's seen for the past decade.
Caden, the 2 X-Taz guys we put actually won LANs during their time. You haven't won one. That's why we put them over you.
It's like listen, everyone must remember this is super hard to make because there's a lot of things that go into it, and
Bro, let me just reiterate, this isn't based off skill. It's everything.
Yeah.
Half of these people in the top 10 wouldn't be in the top 10
if it was
if
skill.
it was skill.
If it was skill, like this top 30 list would be completely different. There will be names in this top 30 list that aren't in it right now if it was just purely based off skill.
Thank you. Okay, number 4. I'm leaving it there because
this is gonna be a lot of
this is my opinion. I don't care if you've won 20 lands in South Africa. If you're placing well internationally, I'm holding that much higher to anything you've achieved in South Africa. As again, it's our list. You can make your own. Tweet us at your list that you make. We'll be happy to agree and disagree and have fun with it. This is supposed to be fun. I don't want to get attacked, but okay. At number 4, we've got Inferno.
And I think that's well deserved to be in that spot. Alton has been the best player almost every single year he competed in. Alton's got a lot of land wins in South Africa. Alton went overseas to CWL London, was considered one of the top ARs when he was playing against all these the top players. Even with Singularity, we bootcamped him. Alton was flying.
He was such an impactful teammate as well. Not as an IGL, but as a teammate.
And Alton, that's another thing that holds Alton extremely highly, is his game knowledge was insane. Alton knew how to play the map and manipulate the map.
Yeah.
I would even say like one of the things I hated was when Alton like retired as I started getting better, because Alton is throughout CODZA, Alton was that best AR in the game. Alton was the AR to beat. And that's
he was
why
the best player in the game with how to play the game.
Yeah.
Maybe not as... Because I feel like in Black Ops 4, me and you were maybe a little bit more gun skilled than him. But as a player, I feel like he knew the game 10 times better. I learned so much from Alton playing with him. Easily.
So I wish that I could have played against Alton because, as I said, when I was coming into the scene, Inferno was the best AR in the game for years, and I obviously played AR. I wanted to beat Alton, at his prime. So not being able to compete against him when I felt like I had the ability to, it sucks because you want to beat the best, and Alton for years and years and years was the best and winningest player like throughout the years. Like no one can discredit like Alton.
Yeah, and just like what Chris said now, we don't mind that you guys disagree, but have a general argument about it. Don't just say no because it is our opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we are basing a lot of the comments. What I'm seeing is basing it straight off skill.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of these players are more skilled than other players, but we're not just basing on skill. If you want, we'll come back another day and just do top 30 most skilled players.
I'm saying now, like at least 40% of the players in this list. You could even make 50% of the players in this list will not make the top 30 skills.
10 out of the 30 would be in the list.
Yeah, like skills are completely different.
We don't mind you guys disagreeing, like we said, it's our opinion, but please don't base your argument just off skill because, like I said, I've explained the points where people have the same or more, but you're still holding them to a higher standard. So, like I said, we're fine with Alton. And also, Alton, a lot of the experience, he placed well in World War II with you guys online, internationally, and then obviously London, he placed really well. So, he has all the chips locally, he has the skill locally, and he has the international. Put him number 4. Then at number 3.
The man himself.
The man that's not here.
Lithium.
Dylan Lithium.
I think you can make the same argument for Dylan. Competed for years and years and has been
at the top. Literally
top Dylan has not been in a grand final basically. Like Dylan's been in almost every single grand final. Dylan's won. Dylan is, in my opinion, the most I know in current day COD we don't have such roles anymore, like objective, that kind of vibe. But Dylan has been like the most influential submachine gun entry/hill player in South Africa. I will not hear another answer to this. Dylan, if not the greatest entry/OBJ hill player that South Africa's ever seen, Dylan's got the international exposure. Dylan's won everything. Dylan's the most winningest player in South Africa. You can't discredit the things that Dylan has done. It's a very similar argument to what we said with Inferno. And Dylan is still competing to this day and is still winning everything, So,
that's the thing is, Dylan's literally been top 2. Like, we're doing this list. We have, the XS guys, Black Ops 2. We have, Java, then Moya. Dylan is from Black Ops 2 all the way to, top 2, most winningest player in South Africa. One of the most consistently skilled subs in the game. He also does the dirty work. And he has international exposure.
I'm one of the best teammates you could have.
Dylan is one of the best teammates.
We've did this all amongst ourselves. I probably would have maybe put Dylan over myself, but I feel like we had a general agreement that leading to number 2 is myself.
Number 2 is going to be Jody Kohvz.
Obviously, I feel like I've been... listen, I'm not just saying this personally because we have agreed this is the whole panel that's done this. probably the best all-rounded player for the past 2, maybe 3 years. I have that competition. I have Dylan has a few more South African lands than me. I do have quite a lot of South African lands. We both have the international London recognition, but as I said to these guys, I would put Dylan over myself if I didn't compete in the EU for the past month or past 4 months, because I placed 17th at champs while I was in EU. Dylan doesn't have that much of an achievement.
And this is the thing we spoke about. Dill agreed. So Dill and Rob had the argument. Dill thought Rob should be ahead of him. Rob thought Dill. So it was a very a mutual thing. I think Rob's been a very overall player. You need a flex, you need a main AR, you need a submachine gun throughout the past 4 years. Rob will do that role the best that can possibly be done. But then Dill has all these wins, has been competing longer than Rob at the highest level. But then we hold international exposure to a very high level, because that's where you someone can win locally and go overseas and get absolutely smoked. It means nothing. But when you can win locally and go overseas and compete against the best and knock out big names, ex-pros, that's held very highly. So I think we all came to agreement that Rob was number 2.
Like what you read him, like you just said in chat, we explained it 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter what you couldn't do or could have done. It's what has happened. I don't care if players. Caden could have gone to the US and literally won every LAN event.
Yeah,
but we don't know that. It's what we have in front of us.
Michael Schumacher could have won 10 more titles. He didn't. You
Yes.
know, it's he was close to, but he didn't. So you can't hold him for that.
Schumacher probably would have won how many more titles if he didn't have the injury?
Yeah,
but he didn't, so you can't base it off
It's hard. We have to judge with the facts that we're given. I'm sure a lot of players locally, like Frosty, if you got the opportunity, a lot of the guys, if they got more exposure overseas, they could have dominated. We don't know that, though. That's the problem. We have to judge with the facts that we got, and that's how we're judging off it. I'm sure a lot of South Africans would do well overseas, especially some of the top guys here, again, like I said, Frosty. That he didn't get the opportunity, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't change what the facts are, you know?
Yeah. Like we said in the beginning, this is our opinion, and we hold international exposure very highly, because I'm going to be honest, a lot of you can't speak on it because you don't know how it is and how they see things internationally. They don't even recognize anything in South Africa.
Well,
we're talking as pros looking down, trying to make it to pro, not what just South Africans wanting to stay in South Africa.
Yeah.
The most achieved South African players in a pro setting.
Yeah. Which, going to number 1?
Wait, at number 1, we have Adrian. No, I'm joking.
Adrian
TG. I saw a lot of people saying in chat it is Connor Vadex as number 1. Like Benji reiterated again, it's international. I think Java said you have to, you can't say because he's not South African anymore. But I went to EU for 4 months. I'm still South African.
Yeah.
He's still South African. He competes under the South African flag. Connor won multiple lands in South Africa during AW, to Black Ops 3. He was probably the best player in AW and Black Ops 3, or top 2 at least.
Yeah.
He's won multiple chips in South Africa, and he was really good, if not the best at his prime. Connor has a top 8 placing at champs in the EU.
Connor has...
You can't put anything above that anymore. He's top 8 placing internationally against the best.
Yeah.
You can disagree with us all you want. He's still South African. He came from South Africa, left from South Africa.
If Rob moves to North Macedonia, Rob's still going to play on the South African flag. Doesn't mean he's not South African anymore, you know? Connor... I teamed with Connor.
Let's put it like this. Connor's the best player to come from South Africa.
Yeah, that's kind of what the list is intending. Surely, it's a lot of the people only played locally, so that's the way we can go with it. But Connor plays top 8 at a major event, and
that's not easy, eh?
No.
We all obviously we have experience of it. Competing in EU in the international stage, it's extremely hard.
And at the time, Connor's top 8 team wasn't a team people thought would make top 8. That's what's even crazier. And Connor was considered on that team, he was the glue of that team.
It's not even that. Connor placed top 16 multiple times, and then top 32, which was our best LAN event, LAN placing. So it would be kind of immature not to put him at the top. Like I said, I probably wouldn't put Connor number 1 if we're doing skill. He probably wouldn't be top 5-8. I feel like there's a lot of people better, but it's if I had to go back to EU tomorrow and place top 3 internationally, I'm gonna be number 1 on the list. No one in South Africa that hasn't went overseas could achieve what I have without going overseas. Nothing in South Africa can compare to that.
Top 8 doesn't sound for us South Africans. Top 8 is it's not a good placing. If you go to EU and you place top 8 and you understand the competition and how extremely
How
difficult
he was playing against EU's best, not just some.
Yeah, you know, like Connor played like the top guys, and as I said, Connor's team at the time wasn't even like the top team. You know, he had like a few guys. I think they formed together a couple of weeks, and then like Connor was considered the glue. And Connor, that's the thing, is that Connor just didn't go overseas and do that. Connor was also dominant locally. Connor won lands. Connor was the best AO. I mean, Black Ops 3 was like, in my opinion, his most recognized game. Like Connor was insane at Black Ops 3. So I think it just balances out really well.
Rhythm, what opportunities? So who would you put? Who do you think we are missing on the list that you think should be on the list if they got the opportunity? Because I feel like everyone in the top 20 wouldn't be replaced by anyone else, even if they had the opportunity, because they're all the top players in South Africa.
Yeah.
No one is better than the guys we have. Like maybe certain players in the top 20 could be pushed down. Like I'd put Clanker over Drew in them if they got the opportunity, obviously. But who are you saying it as in that? People should be shifted up, but we can't base that off. Like I'm not gonna have. But the thing is, if you're not counting our Bravado team and Vadex, everyone has had the same opportunity because everyone has competed in South Africa and had the same opportunity. So are you just basing it off Kyle? Because if Kyle went over, maybe he would have done better, but we can't say that. So
Kyle could have gone over and been like the next Abizi, or he could have gone over and been like somebody who just bottles every map. We don't know. That's the problem. His potential's there, sure. Like I think everyone can agree with that, but it's not a fact.
But the thing is, Redham, why should Caden be higher? He hasn't accomplished what those people have accomplished in South Africa, and he hasn't been as consistent as them. So like, give me your reasoning behind it, and I'll gladly say if you should go higher or not. But like we said, we thought through this well, and everyone above him has achieved more.
I think if Caden won one land, I think he jumps a whole bunch of spots. That's how close everything is, and one achievement and one thing.
Yeah.
When you're basing local to local, the only thing you can base off is land wins and placings. And Caden doesn't have a land win, and maybe like one or two guys above him has a land win, so you kind of have to give him the credit for winning on the main stage. Yeah. Where Caden wins one land win, I think he jumps a whole bunch of spots. It's so small.
They'll even argue on the flank when they put Salium, who's only competed for 2 years, over TP.
Yeah, TP's
which was
won
like
way
the
more.
go-to thing ever. And like, to be fair, I understand when you guys argue about Vadex because a lot of you either didn't know him or saying that he's not here, but he still came from South Africa and as a South African, he's South African.
Yeah.
Has accomplished the most overseas.
And I think
I would have put Dylan as my number one in the list because he's competed internationally, second most behind me, and then he literally the most winningest player in South Africa with probably the most consistent skill. So yeah.
And remember, like I would also put Dylan number one. Dylan is like the best player in South Africa, like achievements, longevity of his career, playing at the top. But even Dylan says like you can't put him number one. Like Connor has to be number one, and that's coming from Dylan. And Dylan is the most winningest player from South Africa. So it's different levels, and that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like it's like here's Caden and here's the guy in 15th. You know, it's like one little thing that happened differently in Caden's career. Maybe he won one land. He immediately jumps up. That's how close these guys are. It's not like you're putting a skill gap between them.
And then Redham, you say that Caden's achieved a lot. Are you putting Caden second and third places over someone who's won one or two lands? I'm not putting a second and third place over
that's what I'm saying.
place.
That's why I say if Caden wins one...
I like Caden. I love the kid. I've teamed with him for long, but like we said, it's inclusive of every single category.
It's like
wins, skill, consistency. Caden has achieved a lot, but he's never won a LAN.
Yeah.
People above him have won a LAN. If you're anyone logical in South Africa, a LAN win means more than anything else because that's all we have.
Like even with my 15th place, is like I also think that's a bit high for me because I haven't won a LAN, but my international exposure carries me a bit. I don't think... Like there's the guys around me that like Renato's one place ahead of me, but he's won two, maybe even more lands in South Africa. I'm getting carried a bit by my international exposure, so it's a very fine line between everyone. Like one little small thing happens different in a tournament or what happened, you know, like a year ago, like that whole thing can shift. So it's such fine margins between all this stuff, and we try to be like very very fair. Like I'm saying, not only the GigaHub guys did the video, we had other guys that came in, previous players, you know. And then we all no one, if Rob said this and three of us disagreed, Rob wouldn't get the way. Everyone out of all 5, 6, 7 of us had to agree that placing is deserved there. So it's not like this is any bite. We try to be as fair as possible and be just really realistic.
Another list will be nice as cross-gen came recent. Other guys haven't gotten recognition. I mean, they had enough time. I mean, if you're considering like the Mage and those kind of guys, I can see they're on the come up, but they still have to go through all the ups and downs that every single player in South Africa has done.
We can't base a list of if and buts. It has to be facts and what we can work with. Like, you know, like if I started competing the same time as Rob, I might be second on the list, but I didn't, and I only started competing later. So it's just all the facts you have to work with. Like, there's always going to be situations of ifs, and maybe that happened, but we just have to base off facts.
I mean, do you mean if you're saying that exposure shouldn't be considered internationally, it should just be a CODZA list? All I'm doing is I'm taking Vedics out of the list.
I mean, no, you didn't take him out of the list. Vedic still won locally.
Well, yeah, I'd put Vedics probably in top 10 over like Jordan, and then everyone else is staying the same.
Maybe if it's like only locally, like maybe I would drop a few spots, maybe Jordan would drop a few spots, and Vedic would drop a few spots.
But I'd still, my list would then be Dylan, me, Alton, Frosty, Rahil. My list isn't changing.
Yeah. It's like 2-3 guys. If you don't put international exposure, will drop a bit.
I disagree with you, Redham. The scene in the last couple of years has been the least competitive.
Yes, that is true. The scene
from the 5th to 12th teams, it's been the most competitive.
Yeah.
But from the 1st to 5th, it's been the least competitive. I don't think you're around when the Ghost, AW, Black Ops 3, IW season was out. Like that was competitive.
The most competitive seasons were Jetpacks and then World War 2 and Black Ops 4. Modern Warfare and Cold War were most probably the least competitive seasons. And the thing is, what makes it even worse is they were the least competitive seasons, and the participants weren't high, so that made it look even worse. If you have like a high skill gap, but there's 40 teams competing, then you can even it out. But when you have 12 teams competing, and you kind of know who's gonna win or who's gonna be in the semi-final or the winners final, it's like it makes it worse. The most competitive seasons were Jetpacks and World War 2. I actually think World War 2 and Black Ops 4 were the most competitive seasons.
Someone says, Chad, why is Rahil so download? Like I said, if it's based on skill, Rahel's my number one. If it's based on everything together, even just locally, Rahil is still behind the guys that did because everyone's achieved more than him. I saw another list. The best COD scene in ZA, like highest skill. What do you mean by that? I thought you said the best scene in ZA. Just reiterate what you meant by that, Lee.
I don't know what that
there were other questions. Just ask questions if you guys
want
to.
This is like now we've done the top 10, you guys can ask anything.
Yeah, one thing. Donnie, you said about Xbox players. I've played against the best Xbox team throughout the years, and they don't even compete with South African. When South African teams switch from Xbox to PS, Xbox people have had the same opportunities on LAN. Because I remember AW, there was the best Xbox team, and they got rolled. The console doesn't matter. You're the best. You would have gotten recognition if you were that good on Xbox. Just because it wasn't cross-platform doesn't mean you were that good.
Again, you have to say like, if the switch was earlier to cross-gen, sure, maybe one of the Xbox guys would have been the best player in South Africa.
Right.
But that's not that. It's not a fact. You know, like I said, the same thing I could say. When Rob started competing in Black Ops 2, if I started competing, I'd also be high up on the list, but I didn't.
Which year was the most competitive for COD?
In CODZA?
Yeah, I'd say
Black
Ops
4.
No, not even close.
No, see, the thing with Black Ops 4, the top 4 teams were super competitive, but there was a gap to the rest.
I'd
so that's
say Ghosts, AW. No, Astro very dominant AW. Ghosts, and Black Ops 3.
But Black Ops 3, like you guys and Astro won everything. Then no one really challenged you.
Ghost is the most competitive COD scene.
The best season when it comes to like top teams competitive could be like Black Ops 4. Like you had Venko, WRG, Bravado, and Energy, and like any one of them could have won on the day, and that was proven throughout the year. Energy won that year, Bravado won that year, WRG won that year. Okay, I don't think our Venko team won anything, but we made a few finals on like tournaments. So it's like it was super competitive with the top 4 teams. Like anyone could be anyone, but there was a gap to like 5th, 6th, 7th. So
yeah, I'd say Ghost just because how many teams could have won during the season. Because I'm not talking about who was the most, like which year had the most skilled players in it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about one LAN, it was one team winning, another LAN, another team. Like in Ghost, it was Astra, TPE, Fear, Neuro, XF, and like all of those guys were literally going one after the other.
That's why I say Black Ops 4 comes first.
Again,
because
best internet goes to Lithium. You'll never beat me on that. Best internet will be Lithium. Any other questions before we end it? I feel like that was a nice little argumentative top 30 list. Like I said, guys, it's no personal hate or anything. This is our opinion. Mm-hmm. We took and hear me out again, we took international recognition as the highest point, then slowly going down to chips, consistency, how skillful you are. So that's why the list is that is. I think that is the most fair. The list is because a lot of you would say like you wouldn't put people below like Drew and Hazards, but at the time, the people below them didn't have as good of a season and win as many chips as they did. I'm not saying they're more skilled at the time, but that's just how
like the way, like the mindset with our team, and it's been for the past couple of years, is we hold, you know, the pinnacle of esports or Call of Duty is internationally, NA or EU, it doesn't matter. So you can win nothing locally, like literally win absolutely nothing locally, but you go overseas and place top 5. For me, you're the best player out of South Africa. That's where we all want to be. We all want to be at an international level, and if you are able to prove yourself against the best of the best, you deserve to be the best. Where you come from, you know. So
we'll tweet out if you guys want us to do other lists like skill lists or just CODZA lists. We can definitely do that, or like recent lists.
Yeah, if like you want to do like best players of the past 3 years, or like you want to do most skill players, like that's.
But we won't do that now because we're cutting off the time. Difficult people to play against. When I started competing, the only person I struggled to play against was Alton, because he was very good at the time and very good at getting in people's heads. But within a year, I overcame that, and now the only person I struggle to kill would be Rahil. I feel like he's the only person that, when I'm playing against, could out movement me or out gunfight me. You guys?
Hardest person I played against is Rob. And like, that's not even just bias. Like, I couldn't. Like, it was hard. Rahil, in terms of gun skill, the hardest person. But in terms of outplaying you, Rob. Alton is also pretty high up there. Alton knew how to manipulate the map. Dylan, most annoying player to play against.
Yeah, I would maybe put Frosty there, but the thing is I teamed with him for majority of the years where we were like insane. So I never played against him. I'd say playing against Carl maybe in Black Ops 3 when I did here and there. I feel like he was very difficult. But the only person I struggled mentally to play against was Alton. And then the only person I struggle gunfight to play against is Rahil, just because Rahil abuses his little fucking fingers a lot.
Yeah, in terms of gunfights, when you see Rahil, you like start shaking.
Yeah, we can maybe do a list from Black Ops 4.
Yeah, we can. Like more like current gen players, basically.
Yeah, so basically the new players, and then we don't do international things.
Yeah, then we can just do straight of that. Yeah,
there's
a lot of ideas there. It's just like this is more of like the overall kind of thing,
so,
of everything into.
What we can do is we can come in another day and we can do like 3 lists in one day of most skilled since Black Ops 4, and then I think someone most difficult to play against. Any more questions, guys, before we end it? I feel like this was a very fun discussion. I enjoy doing this a lot.
Wait, why are you looking for questions? I need to listen.
Dill's forehead is the map.
Who said that?
Masuko. He's a demon. But should I come back? Very important. Lee, please come back.
This was requested by somebody in the stream.
I don't. It's not bother. It doesn't bother me too much because I'm gonna head overseas.
Not sponsored, but
build the scene. I want to see a lot more streams from everyone else.
Everyone wanted to see Rahil at donuts.
Give me shit. Give me this thing.
Oh, he's going for the normal glazed.
There we go. There was a few people asking earlier.
Get in there.
We even went to organize some donuts. Some people were asking for Rahil to have a donut, so you know we gotta hook it up.
The best way to end off. You guys gonna join the GHC COD team in Warzone? We don't have a whole COD team in Warzone. That's just Dylan trying to flex how good he is at Warzone. Can I be your 5th? You have to ask Adrian Azzy that. He's already our 5th. So you have to fly the spot.
He's already booked that spot, and we actually had the discussion yesterday. He was like, "I'm your guys' 5th. Done."
Justin, we can head to Madison's after this if you like. I know you like heading to Maddie's. You actually got the crispy, bro. Real clutches up on the crispy
cream. Sponsor me.
GHC does have a team for Warzone, Rob. Yeah, I know. But I'm smoking those boys. Ask for Bao. Ask who for Bao's Grim Reaper is. Boogeyman. He'll say Kohvz. Anyway, we do. We do Rob. No, I mean Warzone team. I'm not COD team. Like as in the competitive players. I know we have a Warzone team. You understand? Not the COD guys being a team.
Yeah.
Masuko, not Masuko, for Bao. I'm literally for Bao's Boogeyman. Maddie's, you guys in PMB. Now Justin just loves going to Maddie's because he thinks he's 16 still. Anyway, you want to end it there?
Yeah, I think we good.
Probably should realize
to catch.
What time is your flight?
That's at 26. Still got some time.
This is still to go to the airport and everything.
Anyway, so. Elucid.
Okay. Any video? I think we're gonna end it there.
Okay, guys. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I know there was a lot of agreements. Like I said, send forward your guys' list on Twitter. We'll be happy to look at them, start some arguments. We just think that it was the most fair, being the most experienced people. Obviously, Dylan wasn't here, but he gave his say in chat.
I think just read that because it's an instruction from.
Just Karen speaking.
That was a good video. I think like obviously opinions are gonna
fly out the window. It's the same with the internationals, with the pros. Like, if you see, like, the chats when Zuma was getting fried. Like, it's all opinion based, and everyone holds their achievements to a different level. As I said, like, we hold our international exposure to, like, that's where everyone wants to be. That's where we want to compete. Yeah. You want to be playing against the best. So I'm saying you can win. You don't even have to place top 3 in South Africa, but if you go overseas this season in Vanguard and you are consistently placing the top 12 of EU NA, I'm going to put you on the top of my list, because that's where you deserved it. You know, that's the best. You know, like, South Africa's, we have up and downs with competitive players and teams and, like, participants and stuff. But if you go overseas where it's the most competitive and you prove yourself, then you deserve to be there. So I appreciate everyone coming in. I think we all do. If you guys haven't already subscribed to the GigaHub channel, I would ask you please to do that, to support. And, like, just for CODZA in general, like, this season there's a lot of hype going out with the teams now, and I love it. And this is how we should be. I know we had a bit of a break with, like, 2 years where it was a bit dying out, but a lot of players are good and a lot of teams are good, and I love the content that's coming out, and we need to carry that just going forward, supporting each other's streams. Whether you are the biggest fan of someone or not, it doesn't matter. Support. That's going to grow the community. That's going to grow our tournaments. That's going to grow our participation. And then that's just going to grow the scene in general, and then we might get more opportunities and exposure for organizations. Yeah. Sure, there's CDL and franchising is now, but who says we don't have a lot of support and an NA org or an EU org wants to pick one of the South African teams up and send them overseas? Because, trust me, people have considered that over the time, but there's just no, like, backbone to supporting us, because they think our scene is small when realistically it's not.
And then, like, just one thing to reiterate is, we go internationally. Obviously, we have aspirations of being pros, but we also do it to bring back to the community. Everything we do, we'll share with you guys. Drop us a drop us a DM on Twitter to ask if what you learned when you're playing against us, because I've made sure that I've learned from the EU guys to bring it back. So make sure you understand that we are doing this also to bring back to the community. We do have plans of going overseas. Will not stop until we are at the top overseas as well. So make sure that not only when that happens, also now to build up the community through us, because right now we have the furthest progress to doing that. And then it will eventually, this is the biggest thing I even tell Giga.
Like a chain reaction.
It's a chain reaction. What happens to us comes back down to you. What we achieve comes back down to us. So support now, support our streams, support everyone's streams. Make sure it grows so the community can grow, so we can get there one day and bring it back to South Africa. The goal is not only for us to become pros, it's to make South Africa a circuit that can contain a CDL spot or a CDL pro point system or CMG system.
And stop bashing people that try and improve in the game just because maybe you're not taking it seriously. A lot of people grind out there. I see even a lot of the smaller guys that the new players are coming up, they're getting bashed because they're grinding and trying to be better.
It happened to me, and look where I am today. Make sure you pursue your dreams. If you want to do it, go 100%. Don't care what anyone says. South Africa, stop being lazy. Put in the time. Become better. And make sure you're doing everything to build the scene. On that note, gentlemen, follow us all on social media. Kohvz, KOHVZ on all socials. Levcitys on all socials. And then Rahil Bucks on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Yep.
And Instagram. Thank you for everyone for joining in. This was the first iteration of the Call of Duty cast. Nice fun talking about our overseas experience. Maybe more tier lists to come. But until then, I hope everyone has a fantastic day. And it's the GigaHub boys, and we are done.
Later.